Alright, so I'm going to start with the Frog King, or Iron Henry. It's only, these are short too. Most of them are short, just like the Aesop ones. So, the Frog King, or Iron Henry. In old times, when wishing still held one, there lived a king whose daughters were all beautiful, but the youngest was so beautiful that the sun itself, which has seen so much, was astonished whenever it shone in her face. Close by the king's castle lay a great dark forest, and under an old lime tree in the forest was a well. And when the day was very warm, the king's child went out into the forest and sat down by the side of the cool fountain. And when she was dull, she took a gold ball and threw it up on high and caught it. And this ball was her favorite plaything. Now it so happened that on one occasion the princess's gold ball did not fall into the little hand which she was holding up for it, but on the ground beyond, and rolled straight into the water. The king's daughter followed it with her eyes, but it vanished, and the well was deep, so deep that the bottom could not be seen. On this she began to cry, and cried louder and louder, and could not be comforted. And as she thus lamented, someone said to her, "What ails thee, king's daughter? Thou weepest so that even a stone would show pity." She looked around to the side from whence the voice came, and saw a frog stretching forth its thick, ugly head from the water. "Ah, old water splasher, is it thou?" said she. "I am weeping for my golden ball, which has fallen into the well." "Be quiet and do not weep," answered the frog. "I can help thee, but what wilt thou give me if I bring the plaything up again?" "Whatever thou wilt have, dear frog," said she. "My clothes, my pearls, my jewels, and even the golden crown which I am wearing." Frog answered, "I do not care for those clothes, thy clothes, thy pearls and jewels, or thy golden crown. But if thou wilt love me, and let me be thy companion and playfellow, and sit by thee in thy little table, and eat off thy little golden plate, and drink out of thy little cup, and sleep in the little bed, if thou wilt promise me this, I will go down below and bring thee thy golden ball up again." "Oh yes," said she, "I promise thee all thou wilt, if thou wilt but bring me my ball back again." She, however, thought, "How the silly frog does talk! He lives in the water with the other frogs and croaks, and can be no companion to any human being." But the frog, when he had received this promise, put his head into the water and sank down, and in a short time came swimming up again with the ball in his mouth, and threw it on the grass. The king's daughter was delighted to see her pretty plaything once more, and picked it up, and ran away with it. "Wait, wait," said the frog, "take me with thee. I can't run as thou canst." But why did it avail him to scream his croak, croak after her, as loudly as he could? She did not listen to it, but ran home, and soon forgot the poor frog, who was forced to go back into his well again. The next day, when she had seated herself at table with the king and all the courtiers, and was eating from her little golden plate, something came creeping splish splash up the marble staircase, and when it had got to the top, it knocked at the door and cried, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." She ran to see who was outside, and when she opened the door, there sat the frog in front of it. Then she slammed the door to in great haste, sat down to dinner again, and was quite frightened. The king saw plainly that her heart was beating violently, and said, "My child, what art thou so afraid of? Is there perchance a giant outside who wants to carry thee away?" No," replied she. "It is no giant, but a disgusting frog." "What does the frog want with thee?" Dear father, yesterday when I was in the forest sitting by the well playing, my golden ball fell into the water. Because I cried so, the frog brought it out again for me, and because he insisted so on it, I promised him he should be my companion. But I never thought he would be able to come out of his water, and now he is outside there and wants to come in to me." In the meantime, it knocked a second time and cried, "Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." "Dost thou not know what thou saidst to me yesterday by the cool waters of the fountain? Princess, youngest princess, open the door for me." Then said the king, "That which thou hast promised must be thou perform. Go and let him in." She went and opened the door, and the frog hopped in and followed her, step by step, to her chair. There he sat still and cried, "Lift me up beside thee," delayed until at last the king commanded her to do it. When the frog was once on the chair, he wanted to be on the table, and when he was on the table, he said, "Now push thy little golden plate nearer to me, that we may eat together." She did this, but it was easy to see that she did not do it willingly. The frog enjoyed what he ate, but almost every mouthful she took choked her. At length he said, "I have eaten and am satisfied. Now I am tired. Carry me into thy little room and make thy little silken bed ready, and we will both lie down and go to sleep." The king's daughter began to cry, for she was afraid of the cold frog, which she did not like to touch, and which was now to sleep in her pretty, clean little bed. But the king grew angry and said, "He who helped thee when thou wert in trouble ought not afterwards to be despised by thee." So she took hold of the frog with 2 fingers, carried him upstairs, and put him in a corner. But when she was in bed, he crept to her and said, "I am tired. I want to sleep as well as thou. Lift me up, or I will tell thy father." Then she was terribly angry, and took him up and threw him with all her might against the wall. "Now thou wilt be quiet, odious frog," said. But when he fell down, he was no frog, but a king's son with beautiful, kind eyes. He, by her father's will, was now her dear companion and husband. Then he told her how he had been bewitched by a wicked witch, and how no one could have delivered him from the well but herself, and that tomorrow they would go together into his kingdom. Then they went to sleep, and next morning, when the sun awoke them, a carriage came driving up with 8 white horses, which had white ostrich feathers on their heads, and were harnessed with gold chains, and behind stood the young king's servant, Faithful Henry. Faithful Henry had been so unhappy with his master, was changed into a frog, and he has caused 3 iron bands to be laid around his heart, lest it should burst with grief and sadness. The carriage was to conduct the young king into his kingdom. Faithful Henry helped them both in, and placed himself behind again, and was full of joy because of the deliverance. And when they had driven a part of the way, the king's son heard a cracking behind him, as if something had broken. So he turned around and cried, "Henry, the carriage is breaking." "No, master, it is not the carriage. It is a band from my heart, which was put there in my great pain when you were a frog and imprisoned in the well." Again and once again, while they were on their way, something cracked, and each time the king's son thought the carriage was breaking, but it was only the bands which were springing from the heart of Faithful Henry, because his master was set free and was happy.
Aww. That's a cute story. I didn't know it had a second part. Like, I knew the Frog Prince part of it.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard the second part with the
bands?
Yeah.
No, I didn't either. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's I can understand why it would get dropped.
Yeah.
But still, the idea that like you enjoy working for someone so much that it your heart gets bound up and said, his master turned into a frog. He could have left. He could have just moved on with his life.
Yeah. But he was Faithful Henry.
Faithful Henry. So cute. I love it.
So that's why the other title is called Iron Henry.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
So we've got on camera Aesop's Fables. So the first bookmark here is the beginning of the table of contents. If I use my tarot cards for bookmarks as I was going through this morning. Okay, so we've got the goose that laid the golden eggs, which I've always enjoyed. So it goes, a man and his wife had the good fortune to possess a goose which laid golden eggs every day. No, sorry, a golden egg every day. Lucky though they were, they soon began to think they were not getting rich fast enough. And, imagining the bird must be made of gold inside, they decided to kill it in order to secure a whole store of precious metal at once. But when they cut it open, they found it was just like any other goose. Thus, they neither got rich all at once, as they had hoped, nor enjoyed any longer the daily addition to their wealth. Much wants more, and loses all. That's it. That's the whole thing. I told you they were short.
I know it was short, but like, really?
Yep,
Okay,
that's
well,
it. That's the whole thing.
dang. I guess it's my turn
Do you,
again.
do you want me to do two?
You want
So
it?
that you get a little bit, I'll give your voice a little bit more of a break. That was, because it was,
We did talk about one for one, but if you really
we did.
wanna, if you
Yeah,
wanna,
no, I'm good.
hey
So.
Manifest, how you doing? Give us a 2 for butterfly. Okay, I'll mute myself again
Will
then. You go for the second one.
Okay, so, as requested earlier in chat, the hare and the tortoise. A hare was one day making fun of a tortoise for being so slow upon his feet. Wait a bit, said the tortoise. I'll run a race with you, and I'll wager that I'll win. Oh, well, replied the hare, who was much amused at the idea. Let's try and see. And it was soon agreed that the fox should set a course for them and be the judge. And when the time came, both started off together. But the hare was soon so far ahead that he thought he might as well have a rest. So down he lay and fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept plodding on, and in time reached the goal. At last, the hare woke up with a start and dashed on at his fastest, but only to find that the tortoise had already won the race. Slow and steady wins the race.
So they're nursery rhymes,
They're short.
but they're not
They're
rhymes.
little. No, that's just little fables.
Basil, you guessed it earlier, didn't you? When I was reading.
So no, that one isn't my favorite. My favorite's still yet to come. So.
Oh, he was joking about the tortoise and the hare when I was reading the frog one.
It's one of the few Aesop fables that everybody knows they know. There's a few other Aesop fables that are common, but people don't know they know them.
All right,
Boy Who
well.
Cried Wolf is one.
Oh, yeah, I know that one. Well, the golden goose I kind of knew too, but I thought they kind of like somebody mixed that in with Jack and the Beanstalk, didn't they? Wasn't there a golden goose at the top?
There was a golden goose. There was a goose that laid golden eggs in the treasure hoard of the giant in Jack and the Beanstalk. But since these came out first, Jack and the Beanstalk, it takes that story and, like...
All right, well, this one's only 2 pages, opposed to the 3 pages I did on the first one.
Okay.
This one is called Cat and Mouse in Partnership.
Oh, that one I don't know.
I don't think I know it either. Well, we're about to, though. We tried to do a Marvel Cinematic Universe, but with giants and geese. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it failed, though. They weren't ready.
Yeah,
It was before its time.
Literary universe. It's similar to a cinematic universe, but it's a literary where you just get all the
Right.
characters together.
All right. Cat and Mouse in Partnership. A certain cat had made an acquaintance of a mouse, and had said so much to her about the great love and friendship she felt for her, but at length the mouse agreed that they should live and keep house together. But we must make a provision for winter, or else we shall suffer from hunger, said the cat. And you, little mouse, cannot adventure everywhere, if you will be caught in a trap some day. The good advice was followed, and a pot of fat was bought, but they did not know where to put it. At length, after much consideration, the cat said, I know no place where it will be better stored up than in the church, for no one dares to take anything away from there. We will set it beneath the altar, and not touch it until we are really in need of it. The pot was placed in safety, But it was not long before the cat had a great longing for it, and said to the mouse, I want to tell you something. Little mouse, my cousin has brought a little son into the world, and has asked me to be a godmother. He is white with brown spots, and I am to hold him at the christening. Let me go out today, and you look after the house by yourself. Yes, yes, answered the mouse. By all means go. If you get anything very good, think of me. I should like a drop of sweet red christening wine too. All this, however, was untrue. The cat had no cousin, and had not been asked to be godmother. She went straight to the church, stole to the pot of fat, began to lick at it, and licking the top of the fat off. Then she took a walk upon the roofs of the town, looked out for opportunities, and then stretched herself in the sun, and licked her lips whenever she thought of the pot of fat. And not until it was evening did she return home. Well, here you are again, said the mouse. No doubt you have had a merry day. All went off well, answered the cat. What name did they give the child? Top off, said the cat quite coolly. Top off, cried the mouse. That is a very odd and uncommon name. It is a usual one in your family? What does it signify? Said the cat. It is not worse than Crumb Stealer, as your godchildren are called. Before long, the cat was seized by another fit of longing. She said to the mouse, You must do me a favor, and once more manage the house for a day alone. I am again asked to be a godmother, and as the child has a white ring around his neck, I cannot refuse. The good mouse consented, but the cat crept behind the town walls to the church and devoured half the pot of fat. Nothing ever seemed so good as what one keeps for oneself, said she, and was quite satisfied with her day's work. When she went home, the mouse inquired, And what was the child christened? Half done, answered the cat. Half done? What are you saying? I never heard the name in my life. I'll wager anything it is not in the calendar. The cat's mouth soon began to water for some more licking. All good things go in threes, said she. I am asked to stand godmother again. The child is quite black, only it has white paws, but with that exception, it has not a single white hair on its whole body. That only happens once every few years. You will let me go, won't you? Pop off, half done, answered the mouse. They are such odd names, they make me very thoughtful. You sit at home, said the cat, in your dark gray fur coat and long tail, and are filled with fancies. That's because you do not go out in the daytime. During the cat's absence, the mouse cleaned the house and put it in order. But the greedy cat entirely emptied the pot of fat. When everything is eaten up, one has some peace, said she to herself, and well filled and fat, she did not return home until night. The mouse at once asked what name has been given to the third child. It will not please you more than the others, said the cat. He is called All Gone. All Gone, cried the mouse. That is the most suspicious name of all. I have never seen it in print. All Gone. What can that mean? And she shook her head, curled herself up, and lay down to sleep. From this time forth, no one invited the cat to be godmother, but when the winter had come and there was no longer anything to be found outside, the mouse thought of their provision and said, Come, cat, we will go to our pot of fat, which we have stored up for ourselves. We shall enjoy that. Yes, answered the cat, you will enjoy it as much as you would enjoy sticking that dainty tongue of yours out of the window. They set out on their way, but when they arrived, the pot of fat certainly was still in the place, but it was empty. Alas, said the mouse, now I see what has happened. Now it comes to light. You, a true friend, you have devoured all when you were standing godmother. First top off, then half done, then you hold your tongue, cried the cat. One word more, and I will eat you too. All gone was already on the poor mouse's lips. Scarcely had she spoken it before the cat sprang on her, seized her, and swallowed her down. Verily, that is the way of the world.
That's a terrible story.
Right? I didn't catch it the first name. as top off, like the top of the fat was gone. I never caught that until the second
the top off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's weird.
I was like, this cat is not at all as creative or clever as it thinks it is, or it's being played out to be.
Right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, at least it was smart enough not to just eat the fat and come straight home
Right?
with like fat on its lips and stuff. It was like, no, I'm gonna also skip out on all of the housework being done today, and yeah.
That is a dang heel. You really are a heel.
Bad cats. Oh, this one is my favorite.
All right, let's hear it.
The Lion and the Mouse. Do you know this one?
It sounds familiar, but not yet.
Okay. A lion, asleep in his lair, was wakened up by a mouse running over his face. Losing his temper, he seized it with his paw and was about to kill it. The mouse, terrified, piteously entreated him to spare his life. "Please let me go," it cried, "and one day I will repay you for your kindness." The idea of so insignificant a creature ever being able to do anything for him amused the lion so much that he laughed out loud and, good-humoredly, let it go. But the mouse's chance came after all. One day, the lion got entangled in a net which had been spread for game by some hunters, and the mouse heard and recognized his roars of anger and ran to the spot. Without more ado, it set to work to gnaw at the ropes with its teeth, and succeeded before long in setting the lion free. "There," said the mouse, "you laughed at me when I promised I would repay you, but now you see, even a mouse can help a lion." The end.
The moral of the story is size doesn't matter. Anybody can do anything.
No, well, and
Help
it
people
was
out.
written at a time like when caste systems were all the rage. So, you're a lot of times the animals in Aesop's fables are representatives of different caste levels.
Okay.
So a lion would come from like a king's caste level, and a mouse would come from like servant or below servant level.
Right.
I know.
Pretty cool.
We're doing two. So this one is also one of my favorites. So the North Wind and the Sun. Do you know this one?
No, does not sound familiar whatsoever.
Okay. This one is very good. I like it. A dispute arose between the North Wind and the Sun, each claiming that he was stronger than the other, and at last they agreed to try their powers upon a traveler to see which could soonest strip him of his cloak. The North Wind had the first try, and gathering up all his force for the attack, he came whirling ferociously down upon the man, and caught up his cloak as though he would wrest it from him by one single effort. But the harder he blew, the more closely the man wrapped it around himself. And then came the turn of the Sun. At first he beamed gently on the traveler, who soon unclasped his cloak, and walked on with it hanging loosely about his shoulders. Then he shone forth at his full strength, and the man, before he had gone many steps, was glad to throw his cloak right off, and complete his journey more lightly clad. Persuasion is better than force. The end.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I never heard that one before.
Really?
Yeah. I did hear the Lion and the Mouse one before, but yeah. No, not that one.
Yeah, The Lion and the Mouse is my favorite. There's another one with a lion and a mouse, and he's got a thing in his paw. You heard the one where the lion has a thorn in his paw and he's crying, and the
Maybe that's
mouse
the one
gets
I heard then. That sounds more familiar.
more familiar than it untying the gnawing
Yeah.
through the rope. I've heard
Yeah.
both.
I don't know, maybe I've heard both. I mean, I am 40. I've heard a lot of things and forgotten a lot more, so.
Right. So that's. But now we've gone through all of the good ones that I bookmarked. So I'll just read random ones.
Right on. This one's like 4 pages long.
Oh, good. I'll be able to like get at least a couple of steps. This is the foundation row in this on the other sleeve, so it's tricky.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, this one's called Our Lady's Child. I have no clue what this is whatsoever. 4 pages. Okay, here we go. And the not a problem, but the paragraphs sometimes are non-existent. Like it's just a
like just whole page of text.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah. So that's fun. All right. This is story number 3. Our Lady's Child. Hard by a great forest dwelt a woodcutter with his wife, who had an only child, a little girl of 3 years old. They were, however, so poor that they no longer had daily bread, and did not know how to get food for her. One morning the woodcutter went out sorrowfully to his work in the forest, and while he was cutting wood, suddenly there stood before him a tall and beautiful woman with a crown of shining stars on her head, who said to him, I am the Virgin Mary, mother of the child Jesus. Thou art poor and needy, bring thy child to me. I will take her with me and be her mother and care for her. The woodcutter obeyed, brought his child, and gave her to the Virgin Mary, who took her up to heaven with her. There the child fared well, ate sugar cakes and drank sweet milk, and her clothes were of gold, and the little angels played with her. And when she was 14 years of age, the Virgin Mary called her one day and said, Dear child, I am about to make a long journey, so take into thy keeping the keys of the 13 doors of heaven. 12 of these thou mayest open, and behold the glory which is within them. But the 13th, to which the little key belongs, is forbidden thee. Beware of opening it, or thou wilt bring misery on thyself. The girl promised to be obedient, and when the Virgin Mary was gone, she began to examine the dwellings of the kingdom of heaven. Each day she opened one of them, until she had made the round of the 12. In each of them sat one of the apostles in the midst of a great light, and she rejoiced in all the magnificence and splendor, and the little angels who always accompanied her rejoiced with her. Then the forbidden door alone remained, and she felt a great desire to know what could be hidden behind it, and said to the angels, I will not quite open it, and I will not go inside, but I will unlock it so that we can just see a little through the opening. Oh no, said the little angels, that would be a sin. The Virgin Mary has forbidden it, and it might easily cause thy unhappiness. Then she was silent, but the desire in her heart was not stilled, but gnawed there and tormented her, and let her have no rest. And once, when the angels had all gone out, she thought, Now I am quite alone, and I could peep in. If I do it, no one will ever know. She sought out the key, and when she had got it in her hand, she put it in the lock, and when she had put it in, she turned it round as well. Then the door sprang open, and she saw there the Trinity sitting in fire and splendor. She stayed there a while and looked at everything in amazement. Then she touched the light a little with her finger, and her finger became quite golden. Immediately a great fear fell on her. She shut the door violently and ran away. Her terror, too, would not quit her, let her do what she might, and her heart beat continually and would not be still. The gold, too, stay on her finger and would not go away. Let her rub it and wash it never so much. It was not long before the Virgin Mary came back from her journey. She called the girl before her and asked to have the keys of heaven back. When the maiden gave her the bunch, the Virgin looked into her eyes and said, Hast thou not opened the 13th door also? No, she replied, and she laid her hand on the girl's heart, and felt how it beat and beat, and saw right well that she had disobeyed her order and had opened the door. Then she said once again, Thou art certain that thou hast not done it? Yes, said the girl for the second time. Then she perceived the finger which had become golden from touch the fire of heaven, and saw well that the child had sinned, and said for the third time, Hast thou not done it? No, said the girl for the third time. Then said the Virgin Mary, Thou hast not obeyed me, and besides that thou hast lied. Thou art no longer worthy to be in heaven. Then the girl fell into a deep sleep, and when she awoke she lay on the earth below, in the midst of a wilderness. She wanted to cry out, but she could bring forth no sound. She sprang up and wanted to run away, but whithersoever she turned herself, she was continually held back by thick hedges of thorns through which she could not break. In the desert in which she was imprisoned, there stood an old hollow tree, and this had to be her dwelling place. Into this she crept when night came, and here she slept. Here, too, she found a shelter from storm and rain, but it was a miserable life, and bitterly did she weep when she remembered how happy she had been in heaven, and how the angels had played with her. Roots and wild berries were her only food, and for these she sought as far as she could go. In the autumn she picked up the fallen nuts and leaves and carried them into the hole. Nuts were her food in winter, and when snow and ice came, she crept amongst the leaves like a poor little animal, that she might not freeze. Before long, her clothes were all torn, and one bit of them after another fell off her. As soon, however, as the sun shone warm again, she went out and sat in front of the tree, and her long hair covered her on all sides like a mantle. Thus she sat year after year, and felt the pain and misery of the world. One day, when the trees were once more clothed in fresh green, the king of the country was hunting in the forest, and followed a roe, and as it had fled into the thicket which shut in this bit of the forest, he got off his horse, tore the bushes asunder, and cut himself a path with his sword. When he had at last forced his way through, he saw a wonderfully beautiful maiden sitting under the tree. She sat there, and was entirely covered with her golden hair, down to her very feet. She stood still and looked at her full of surprise. Then he spoke to her and said, Who art thou? Why art thou sitting here in the wilderness? But she gave no answer, for she could not open her mouth. The king continued, Wilt thou go with me to my castle? Then she just nodded her head a little. The king took her in his arms, carried her to his horse, and rode home with her. And when he reached the royal castle, he caused her to be dressed in beautiful garments, and gave her the things in abundance. Although she could not speak, she was still so beautiful and charming that he began to love her with all his heart, and it was not long before he married her. After a year or so had passed, the queen brought a son into the world. Thereupon the Virgin Mary appeared to her in the night when she lay in her bed alone, and said, If thou wilt tell the truth and confess that thou didst unlock the forbidden door, I will open thy mouth and give thee back thy speech. But if thou perseverest in thy sin and deniest obstinately, thank you, I will take thy newborn child away with me. Then the queen was permitted to answer, but she remained hard and said, No, I did not open the forbidden door. The Virgin Mary took the newborn child from her arms and vanished with it. Next morning, when the child was not to be found, it was whispered among the people that the queen was a man-eater and had killed her own child. She heard all this and could say nothing to the contrary, but the king would not believe it, for he loved her so much. When a year had gone by, the queen again bore a son, and in the night the Virgin Mary again came to her and said, If thou wilt confess that thou openedst the forbidden door, I will give thee thy child back and untie thy tongue. But if thou continuest to sin and deniest it, I will take away with me this new child also. Then the queen again said, No, I did not open the forbidden door, and the virgin took the child out of her arms and away with her to heaven. Next morning, when the child had also disappeared, the people declared quite loudly that the queen has devoured it, and the king's counselors demanded that she should be brought to justice. The king, however, loved her so dearly that he would not believe it, and commanded the counselors, under pain of death, not to say any more about it. The following year, the queen gave birth to a beautiful little daughter, and for the third time the Virgin Mary appeared to her in the night and said, "Follow me." She took the queen by the hand and led her to heaven, and showed her her two eldest children, who smiled at her and were playing with the ball of the world. When the queen rejoiced thereat, the Virgin Mary said, "Is thy heart not yet softened? If thou wilt own that thou openedst the forbidden door, I will give thee back thy two little sons." But the third time the queen answered, "No, I did not open the forbidden door." Then the Virgin let her sink down to earth once more, and took from her likewise her third child. Next morning, when the loss was reported abroad, all the people cried loudly, "The queen is a man-eater, she must be judged." And the king was no longer able to restrain his counselors. Thereupon a trial was held, and as she could not answer and defend herself, she was condemned to be burnt alive. The wood was got together, and when she was fast bound to the stake, and the fire began to burn round about her, the hard ice of pride melted. Her heart was moved by repentance, and she thought, "If I could but confess before my death that I opened the door." Then her voice came back to her, and she cried out loudly, "Yes, Mary, I did it." And straightway rain fell from the sky and extinguished the flames of fire, and a light broke forth above her, and the Virgin Mary descended with the two little sons by her side, and the newborn daughter in her arms. She spoke kindly to her, and said, "He who repents of his sin and acknowledges it is forgiven." Then she gave her the three children, untied her tongue, and granted her happiness for her whole life. Dang.
That was intense.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah, that was... There were a couple elements that I recognized from... I think it's Welsh Celtic folklore. Pwyll, King of David, Prince of David. Anyway, he has a very exciting childhood, and then he's sitting on a hill one day, and there's a girl riding a horse down below him, and because he heard that there was a rumor, if you sit on this hill, you'll either see something miraculous or suffer grievous bodily harm.
Oh.
And he's like, "Oh, I'll go do it." So he goes, he sits on the hill, and he sees this woman riding a horse, and he's like, "Oh, cool." So all of his courtiers go down, but they can't catch her. She's riding at a nice, steady, even pace, and the courtiers are like running their horses flat out. And so he's like, "Well, I'll try my horse." So he hops on his horse, and he's running his horse flat out, can't catch her. So he finally calls out, and he's like, "Hey, can you slow down?" And she does. And then he's like, "Okay." So she's like, "Oh, good. I wanted to marry you. I'm engaged to somebody else. I think he's a dom. I don't want it. I want to marry you instead." And he's like, "Cool. Sounds good to me." So they go to get married. It's this whole thing. It blows up in his face because I started the story too far back. The previous fiance shows up and cons him out of the bride, and she face palms about it and tells him how to fix it. So they do eventually get married. But then she has kids, and a demon comes steals her kid in the middle of the night. And her handmaidens accuse her of eating it, which I think is that was the through line that I was like, that's, your kid goes missing in the middle of the night, so clearly you ate it? That's the through line people are having?
Well,
that's...
I know. In the story I just read, though, at the beginning it was talking about that girl's parents not being able to eat daily bread and all that stuff. So I'm assuming that's kind of the same times as what you're talking about. So if people were really struggling, what would they do? They'd eat their kids and make more.
Well, and at first I thought this story was a metaphor for oh, you're starving and your child dies, and instead of believing that your child is just dead, the end, too bad, You know, no, Virgin Mary came and collected the baby and took it to, you know, so it could go live a happy life. And then it
Yeah,
grows
no,
up and
it wouldn't.
it gets to come back to Earth. I'm like, okay, that's a fun twist. And
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, so then it's following the whole like, the you know the handmaid. So the handmaidens like convince her, and like again the courtiers were all like, King, you got to get rid of this baby eating wife. And the king's like, no, I love her, I'm not doing it. So that was also in your story. I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
Pretty
that's
similar then.
that's so weird that shows up.
I was thinking Rumpelstiltskin with coming in and say, hey, blah blah blah, I'll take your firstborn, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Same idea that he would take the kid. Jeez.
Yeah,
nice one to come into,
it's a
Remy.
happy ending. She has, you know, she gets all of her kids back.
Yeah, and she
And
doesn't die.
doesn't get burnt at the stake.
Right, as a
I don't
witch.
know that would. I don't know that would keep you from being reburnt at the stake, though. Like,
Yeah, that's a little weird, right?
that's
Hey,
that's a
that's a
crazy
witch.
big miracle to happen at the middle of your stake burning.
Yeah. Ooh, this next one's.
Okay, well, do you want to skip ahead, or do you want me to read 3 since yours is really long next?
Why don't you read 3 so I can get
Okay.
some water? Yeah,
Okay.
Remy came in at a really weird story. Sorry. We didn't know. This is our first time reading this stuff.
Yeah.
But Shabazz,
Okay.
that's hilarious. No, but
Okay.
I want to.
Let's get up here. Okay, so what are we feeling? The fox and the grapes, the cat and the mice. These have like completely non-descriptive titles. The mischievous dog, the charcoal burner, and the fuller. Those are 2 jobs we don't have these days, so that's the mice in
I don't know.
council. Mice in council sounds
A
like
lot of
it's
mice
probably-
stories in your book.
Yeah. Let's see what the mice in council says. Once upon a time, all the mice met together in council and discussed the best means of securing themselves against the attacks of the cat. After several suggestions had been debated, a mouse of some standing and experience got up and said, I think I have hit upon a plan which will ensure our safety in the future, provided you approve and carry it out. It is that we should fasten a bell around the neck of our enemy the cat, which will by its tinkling warn us of her approach. This proposal was warmly applauded, and it had been already decided to adopt it when an old mouse got up on his feet and said, I agree with you all that the plan before us is an admirable one. But may I ask, who is going to bell the cat? Apparently that's the end of the story. I went to read the rest of the story. It's just not there. It just says, the bat and the weasels.
Dang, I was like, I wanted to know how they were going to do it.
Who's going to bell the cat?
Nobody, apparently.
We don't get to know.
It could go 2
Basil
ways.
said the mischievous dog.
Oh. Go for it.
Yeah, so here we go. The mischievous dog. There was once a dog who used to snap at people and bite them without any provocation, and who was a great nuisance to everyone who came to his master's house. So his master fastened a bell around his neck to warn people of his presence. The dog was very proud of the bell, and strutted about, tinkling it with immense satisfaction. But an old dog came up to him and said, The fewer airs you give yourself, the better, my friend. You don't think, do you, that your bell was given as a reward of merit? On the contrary, it is a badge of disgrace. Notoriety is often mistaken for fame. The end.
What's the moral of that one then?
Notoriety
loud.
is often mistaken for fame.
Yeah, don't be so loud.
You know.
You're better off
Not
just...
all attention is good attention.
Yeah, stay under the radar.
That's the moral of that one.
That's what I'm getting out of that one. All right. Yeah, one more?
Sure. Let's see. Bat and weasels, dog and the sow, the fox and the crow, the horse and the groom,
What's the fox
wolf
and the crow?
the lamb.
What's
Fox
the
and the
fox
crow.
and the crow? I meant crow. Crows are
Page
cool too, I guess.
6.
I don't know.
Yeah, let me put my bookmark back where the table of contents is, so it's not as hard to find. Page 6. The Fox and the Crow. A crow was sitting on a branch of a... This one has a picture. Let's see if I can... There you go. Mostly in camera. A crow was sitting on a branch of a tree with a piece of cheese in her beak when a fox observed her and set his wits to work to discover some way of getting the cheese. Coming and standing under the tree, he looked up and said, "What a noble bird I see above me. Her beauty is without equal, the hue of her plumage exquisite. If only her voice is as sweet as her looks are fair, she ought, without doubt, to be queen of the birds." The crow was hugely flattered by this, and just to show the fox that she could sing, she gave a loud caw. Down came the cheese, of course, and the fox, snatching it up, said, "You have a voice, madam, I see. What you want is wits."
What? Explain that one.
The fox tricked her out of her cheese and then
Oh.
sassed her over it.
Okay. All right.
Flattery gets you everything you
Everything.
want.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
That is true though. Unfortunately, people just love that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we ready for a 7-pager?
7 pages.
Yep.
What is it called?
The story of the youth who went forth to learn what fear was.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know it.
It's a very good
Brand
one.
new to me.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay. Yeah, I make up my own words sometimes. But yeah, it's Trunkanese. Here we go. A certain father had 2 sons, the elder of whom was sharp and sensible, and could do everything, but the younger was stupid and could neither. I was not expecting.
He's dumb as rocks.
Okay, I'll start that again. And try not to laugh. A certain father had 2 sons, the elder of whom was sharp and sensible and could do everything, but the younger was stupid and could neither learn nor understand anything. And when people saw him, they said, "There's a fellow who will give his father some trouble." When anything had to be done, it was always the elder who was forced to do it. But if his father bade him fetch anything when it was late, or in the night time, and the way led through the churchyard, or any other dismal place, he answered, "Oh no, father, I'll not go there. It makes me shudder." For he was afraid. Or when stories were told by the fire at night, which made the flesh creep, the listeners often said, "Oh, it makes us shudder." The younger sat in a corner and listened with the rest of them, and could not imagine what they could mean. They are always saying, "It makes me shudder. It makes me shudder. It does not make me shudder," thought he. "That, too, must be an art of which I understand nothing." Now it came to pass that his father said to him one day, "Hearken to me, thou fellow in the corner there. Thou art growing tall and strong, and thou, too, must learn something by which thou canst earn thy living. Look how thy brother works, but thou dost not even earn thy salt." "Well, father," he replied, "I'm quite willing to learn something. Indeed, if he could but be managed, I should like to learn how to shudder. I don't understand that at all yet, The elder brother smiled when he heard that, and thought to himself, "Good God, what a blockhead that brother of mine is. He will never be good for anything as long as he lives." I'm sorry, I'm cracking up. I'm trying not to laugh. No punches pulled in the story. You're telling me. He will never be good enough. Where am I? Yeah, good God. What a blockhead that brother is of mine. He will never be good for anything as long as he lives. He who wants to be a sickle must bend himself betimes.
Mm-hmm.
The father sighed and answered him, "Thou shalt soon learn what it is to shudder, by thou wilt not earn thy living by that." Soon after this, the sexton came to the house on a visit, and the father bewailed his trouble, and told him how his younger son was so backward in every respect that he knew nothing and learnt nothing. "Just think," he said, "when I asked him how he was going to earn his bread, he actually wanted to learn to shudder." "If that be all," replied the sexton, "he can learn that with me. Send him to me, and I will soon polish him." The father was glad to do it, for he thought, it will train the boy a little. The sexton therefore took him into his house, and he had to ring the bell. After a day or two, the sexton awoke him at midnight, and bade him arise and go up into the church tower and ring the bell. "Thou shalt soon learn what shuddering is," thought he, and secretly went there before him. And when the boy was at the top of the tower and turned around and was just going to take hold of the bell rope, he saw a white figure standing on the stairs opposite of the sounding hole. "Who is there?" cried he, but the figure made no reply, and did not move or stir. "Give an answer," cried the boy, "or take thyself off. Thou hast no business here at night." The sexton, however, remained standing motionless, that the boy might think he was a ghost. The boy cried a second time, "What dost thou want here? Speak if thou art an honest fellow, or I will throw thee down the steps." The sexton thought he can't intend to be as bad as his words, uttered no sound, and stood as if he were made of stone. Then the boy called to him for the third time, and as that was also to no purpose, he ran against him and pushed the ghost down the stairs, so that it fell down 10 steps and remained lying there in a corner. Thereupon he rang the bell, went home, and without saying a word went to bed and fell asleep. The sexton's wife waited a long time for her husband, but he did not come back. At length she became uneasy and wakened the boy and asked, "Dost thou not know where my husband is? He went up the tower before thou didst." "No, I don't know," replied the boy. "Someone was standing by the sounding hole on the other side of the steps, and as he would neither give an answer nor go away, I took him for a scoundrel and threw him downstairs. Just go there and you will see if it was he. I should be sorry if it were." The woman ran away and found her husband, who was lying moaning in the corner and had broken his leg. She carried him down. Ooh, she's a strong lady. She carried him down, and then with loud screams, she hastened to the boy's father. "Your boy," she cried, "has been the cause of a great misfortune. He has thrown my husband down the stairs and made him break his leg. Take the good-for-nothing fellow away from our house." The father was terrified and ran thither and scolded the boy. "What wicked tricks are these?" said he. "Devil must have put this into thy head." "Father," replied, "do listen to me. I am quite innocent. He was standing there by night, like one who is intending to do some evil. I did not know who it was, and I entreated him 3 times either to speak or go away." "Ah," said the father, "I have nothing but unhappiness with thee. Go out of my sight. I will see thee no more." "Yes, father, right willingly. Wait only until it is day. Then will I go forth and learn how to shudder, and then I shall, at any rate, understand one art which will support me." "Learn what thou wilt," spake the father. "It is all the same to me. Here are 50 thalers for thee. Take these and go into the wide world. and tell no one from whence thou comest, and who is thy father. For I have reason to be ashamed of thee. Yes, father, it shall be as you will. If you desire nothing more than that, I can easily keep it in mind. When day dawned, therefore, the boy put his 50 thalers into his pocket and went forth on the great highway, and continually said to himself, "If I could but shudder, if I could but shudder." Then a man approached who heard this conversation, which the youth was holding with himself, and when they had walked a little farther to where they see the gallows, the man said to him, "Look, there is the tree where 7 men have married the rope maker's daughter and are now learning how to fly. Sit down below it and wait till night comes, and thou wilt soon learn how to shudder." "If that is all that is wanted," answered the youth, "it is easily done, but if I learn how to shudder as quickly as that, thou shalt have my 50 thalers. Wow. "Just come back to me early in the morning." Then the youth went to the gallows, sat down below it, and waited till evening came. And as he was cold, he lighted himself a fire. But at midnight the wind blew so sharply that, in spite of his fire, he could not get warm. And as the wind knocked the hanged man against each other, and they moved backwards and forwards, he thought to himself, "Thou shiverest below by the fire, but how those up above must freeze and suffer." And as he felt pity for them, he raised the ladder and climbed up, unbound one of them after the other, and brought down all 7. Then he stirred the fire, blew it, and set them all around it to warm themselves. But they sat there and did not stir, and the fire caught their clothes. So he said, "Take care, I will hang you up again." The dead men, however, did not hear, but were quite silent and let their rags go on burning. On this he grew angry and said, "If you will not take care, I cannot help you. I will not be burnt with you." And he hung them up again, each in his turn. Then he sat down by his fire and fell asleep. And next morning the man came to him and wanted to have the 50 thalers, and said, "Well, dost thou know how to shudder?" "No," answered he. "How was I to get to know? Those fellows up there did not open their mouths, and were so stupid that they let the few old rags which they had on their bodies get burnt." Then the man saw that he would not carry away the 50 thalers that day, and went away saying, "One of this kind has never come in my way before." The youth likewise went his way, and once more began to mutter to himself, "Ah, if I could but shudder! Ah, but if I could shudder!" A wagoner, who was striding behind him, heard that and asked, "Who art thou?" "I don't know," answered the youth. Then the wagoner asked, "From whence comest thou?" "I know not." "Who is thy father?" "That I may not tell thee." What is it that thou art always muttering between thy teeth?" "Ah," replied the youth, "I do so wish I could shudder, but no one can teach me how to do it." "Give up thy foolish chatter," said the wagoner. "Come, go with me. I will see about a place for thee." The youth went with the wagoner, and in the evening they arrived at an inn where they wished to pass the night. Then at the entrance of the room the youth again said quite loudly, "If I could but shudder, if I could but shudder." The host, who heard that, laughed and said, "If that is your desire, there ought to be a good opportunity for you here." "Ah, be silent," said the hostess. "So many inquisitive persons have already lost their lives. It would be a pity and a shame if such beautiful eyes as these should never see the daylight again." But the youth said, "However difficult it may be, I will learn it, and for the purpose indeed have I journeyed forth." He let the host have no rest until the latter told him that no farther from thence stood a haunted castle where any one could very easily learn what shuddering was, if he would but watch it for 3 nights. The king had promised that he who would venture should have his daughter to wife, and she was the most beautiful maiden the sun shone on. Great treasures likewise lay in the castle, which were guarded by evil spirits, and these treasures would then be freed. It would make a poor man rich enough. Already, many men had gone into the castle, but as yet none had come out again. Then the youth went next morning to the king and said that if he were allowed, he would watch 3 nights in the enchanted castle. The king looked at him, and as the youth pleased him, he said, "Thou mayest ask for 3 nights to take into the castle with thee, but they must be things without life." Then he answered, "Then I asked for a fire, a turning lathe, and a cutting board with a knife." The king had these things carried into the castle for him during the day. When night was drawing near, the youth went up and made himself a bright fire in one of the rooms, placed the cutting board and knife beside it, and seated himself by the turning lathe. "Ah, if I could but shudder," he said, "but I shall not learn it here either." Towards midnight, he was about to poke his fire, and as he was blowing it, something carried suddenly from one corner. "Ah, Maeu? How cold are we?" I don't know those words. A-U, and then M-I-A-U. Ah, Maya?
Maybe it's supposed to be like a ghost sound. Oh.
Oh, how cold are we? Okay. "You simpletons," cried he, "what are you crying about? If you are cold, come and take a seat by the fire and warm yourselves." And when he had said that, 2 great black cats came with one tremendous leap and sat down on each side of him. Oh, maybe it was cat sounds.
Oh, meow.
Oh, meow. Yeah, okay. Savagely at him with their fiery eyes. After a short time, when they had warmed themselves, they said, "Comrade, shall we have a game of cards?" "Why not?" he replied, "but just show me your paws." Then they stretched out their claws. "Oh," said he, "what long nails you have." My gosh. Little Red Riding Hood now? "Wait, I must first cut them a little for you." Thereupon he seized them by the throats, put them on the cutting board, and screwed their feet fast. "I have looked at your fingers," said he, "and my fancy for card playing has gone." And he struck them dead and threw them out into the water. But when he had made away with these 2 and was about to sit down again by the fire, out from every hole and corner came black cats and black dogs with red-hot chains, and more of them came until he could no longer stir. And they yelled horribly and got on his fire, pulled it to pieces, and wanted to put it out. He watched them for a while quietly, but at last, when they were going too far, he seized his cutting knife and cried, "Away with ye, vermin!" and began to cut them down. Part of them ran away, the others he killed and threw out into the fish pond. When he came back, he blew up the embers of his fire again and warmed himself. And as he thus sat, his eyes would keep open no longer, and he felt a desire to sleep. Then he looked around and saw a great bed in the corner. "That is the very thing for me," he said, and got into it. When he was just going to shut his eyes, however, the bed began to move of its own accord and went over the whole of the castle. "That's right," said he, "but go faster." Then the bed rolled on as if 6 horses were harnessed to it, up and down, over thresholds and steps. But suddenly, hop, hop, it turned over upside down and lay on him like a mountain. But he threw quilts and pillows up in the air, got out and said, "Now anyone who likes may drive," and lay down by the fire and slept until it was day. In the morning the king came, and when he saw him lying there on the ground, he thought the spirits had killed him, and he was dead. And he said, "After all, it is a pity. He is a handsome man." The youth heard it, got up, and said, "It has not come to that yet." Then the king was astonished, but very glad, and asked how he had fared. "Very well indeed," answered he. "One night is over, the 2 others will get over likewise." Then he went to the innkeeper, who opened his eyes very wide and said, "I never expected to see thee alive again. Hast thou learnt how to shudder yet?" "No," he said, "it is all in vain. If someone would but tell me." The second night, he again went up into the old castle, sat down by the fire, and once more began his old song. If I could but shudder. When midnight came, an uproar and noise was tumbling about was heard. At first it was low, but it grew louder and louder. Then it was quiet for a while, and at length, with a loud scream, half a man came down the chimney and fell before him. "Hullo!" cried he. "Another half belongs to this? This is too little." Then the uproar began again. There was a roaring and howling, and the other half fell down likewise. "Wait," he said, "I will just blow up the fire a little for thee." When he had done that and looked around again, the two pieces were joined together, and a frightful man was sitting in his place. "That is no part of our bargain," said the youth. "The bench is mine." The man wanted to push him away. The youth, however, would not allow that, but he thrust him off with all of his strength and seated himself again in his own place. Then still more men fell down, one after the other. They brought 9 dead men's legs and 2 skulls and set them up and played a 9 pins with them. The youth also wanted to play and said, "Hark you, can I join you?" "Yes, if thou hast any money." "Money enough," replied he, "but your balls are not quite round." Then he took the skulls and put them in the lathe and turned them till they were round. "There now, they will roll better," he said. "Hurrah! Now it goes merrily." He played with them and lost some of his money, but when it struck 12, everything vanished from the sight. He lay down and quietly fell asleep. Next morning the king came to inquire after him. How has it fared with thee this time?" he asked. "I have been playing at 9 pins," he answered, "and have lost a couple of farthings." "Hast thou not shuddered then?" What?" he said. "I have made merry. If I did but know what it was to shudder." The third night he sat down again on his bench and said sadly, "If I could but shudder." When it grew late, 6 tall men came in and brought a coffin. Then said he, "Ha ha, that is certainly my little cousin, who only died a few days ago." Why is he laughing at that? And he beckoned with his finger and cried, "Come, little cousin, come." They placed the coffin on the ground, but he went to it and took the lid off, and the dead man lay therein. He felt his face, but it was cold as ice. "Stop," said he, "I will warm thee a little," and went to the fire and warmed his hand and laid it on the dead man's face, but he remained cold. Then he took him out and sat down by the fire and laid him on his breast and rubbed his arms with the blood might circulate again. As this also did no good, he thought to himself, "When 2 people lie in bed together, they warm each other. What the frig is going on?" And carried him to the bed, covered him over, and laid down by him. After a short time, the dead man became warm too, and began to move. Then said the youth, "See, little cousin, I have not warmed thee." The dead man, however, got up and cried, Now will I strangle thee." "What?" said he. "Is that the way thou thankest me? Thou shalt at once go into thy coffin again." And he took him up, threw him into it, and shut the lid. Then came the 6 men and carried him away again. I cannot manage to shudder," said he. "I shall never learn if here as long as I live." Then a man entered who was taller than the others and looked terrible. He was old, however, and had a long white beard. "Thou wretch," cried he, "thou shalt soon learn what it is to shudder, for thou shalt die." "Not so fast," replied the youth. "I am to die. I shall have to have a say in it." "I will soon seize thee," said the fiend. Softly, do not talk so big. I am as strong as thou art, and perhaps even stronger." "We shall see," said the old man. "If thou art stronger, I will let thee go. Come, we will try." Then he led him by dark passages to a smith's forge, took an axe, and with one blow struck an anvil into the ground. Wow. "I can do that better still," said the youth, and went to the other anvil. The old man placed himself near and wanted to look on, and his white beard hung down. Then the youth seized the axe, split the anvil with one blow, and struck the old man's beard with it. "Now I have thee," said the youth. "Now it is thou who wilt have to die." Then he seized the iron bar and beat the old man till he moaned and entreated him to stop, and he would give him great riches. The youth drew out the axe and let him go. The old man led him back to the castle, and in a cellar showed him 3 chests full of gold. "Of these," he said, "one part is for the poor, the other is for the king, the third is thine." In the meantime it struck 12, and the spirit disappeared. The youth therefore was left in darkness. "I shall still be able to find my way out," said he, and felt about, found the way into the room, and slept there by his fire. Next morning the king came and said, "Now thou must have learnt what shuddering is." "No," he answered. "What can it be? My dead cousin was here, and a bearded man came and showed me a great deal of money down below, but no one told me what it is to shudder." "Then," said the king, "thou hast delivered the castle, and shalt marry my daughter. That is all very well," he said, "but still I do not know what it is to shudder." Then the gold was brought up, and the wedding celebrated. But howsoever much the young king loved his wife, and however happy he was, he still said always, "If I could but shudder, if I could but shudder." And at last she was angry at this. Her waiting maid said, "I will find a cure for him. He shall soon learn what it is to shudder." She went out to the stream which flowed through the garden, and had a whole bucketful of gudgeons brought to her. At night, when the young king was sleeping, his wife was to draw the clothes off him and empty the bucket of cold water with the gudgeons in it over him, so that the little fishes would sprawl about him. When this was done, he woke up and cried, "Oh, what makes me shudder so? What makes me shudder so, dear wife? Ah! Now I know what it is to shudder." Oh my frig, what a weird story. Holy frig, what a roller coaster.
Fish.
That's what makes him shudder after all that. Oh my gosh. Hey, Sammy. Oh, wow.
That's not the version that I heard. That is amazing.
It got weird at one point, and then it was like, what is going on? It's actually shuddering? I was trying to figure out what shuddering really meant this whole... Like, he meant, like, getting scared and shaking.
Yeah, everybody said, "Oh, it's so scary. Oh, it makes me shudder."
Yeah, but he never got scared, so he didn't know what the frig everybody was talking about. And then the cold water did it.
Well, it had fish in it.
And the
Cold
fish.
water with fish in it.
The gudgeons.
Wet, slimy fish flopping all over his...
Oh my gosh. That was messed up. Oh, M's here. Hello, M.
It's so good.
That was a long one. It was good, though.
So many turns.
I know. Like, normally, I would just keep reading, but I'm like, I had to stop and say, what? What is going on?
I was so worried that he'd killed that first guy. He shoved down the stairs.
I know, I thought he was dead, and then...
Yeah. I was like, he just broke his legs. That's okay, that's good.
Yeah,
it's just broken legs.
That could mean death back then, too, though.
Right, well, it's not right away, though. It's not a quick death. We gotta have a chocolate. That's so funny.
Sammy, I drank and I stretched. I'm good for now. I will probably. Hey, Arises.
So good.
The heebie-jeebies from that one. So you know how to shudder. Wow.
We got 1.5 rows for that story.
Wow, that's pretty good. Just for everybody who's jumping in here, we're reading one story at a time. Like, I'm reading one from the complete Grimm's Fairy Tales, and Butterfly is reading from Aesop's Fairy Tales.
Yeah, but mine are really short.
Yeah, sometimes
so
she reads 2 or 3, and I'm reading giant books apparently. All right, I'm gonna mute myself while you read, and I'm gonna eat A Big Daddy cookie.
Okay. Where we leave off. What's the Bat and the Weasels? Let's go find out what the Bat and the Weasels is.
Right on.
Was it on page 5 or page 6? I didn't say out loud.
No idea.
It's on page 5. Here we go. The Bat and the Weasels. A bat fell to the ground and was caught by a weasel, and was just going to be killed and eaten when it begged to be let go. The weasel said he couldn't do that because he was an enemy of all birds on principle. "Oh, but," said the bat, "I am not a bird at all. I am a mouse." "So you are," said the weasel. "And now I come..." "So you are," said the weasel. "Now I come to look at you." And he let it go. Some time after this, the bat was caught in just the same way by another weasel, and, as before, begged for his life. "No," said the weasel, "I never let a mouse go by any chance." "But I am not a mouse," said the bat. "I am a bird." "Why, so you are," said the weasel, and he too let the bat go. Look and see which way the wind blows before you commit yourself. The end.
Okay.
I'm not a bird. I'm a mouse. I'm not a mouse. I'm a bird.
Like that Queen song, right? Any way the wind blows, doesn't really matter to me. Get out of any situation.
Instead of being everything to everyone, be nothing to everyone.
There you go.
Okay. The Peacock and the Crane. That should be interesting. Let's go to page 9. See what the Peacock and the Crane is. A peacock taunted a crane with the dullness of her plumage. "Look at my bright colors," said she, "and see how much finer they are than your poor feathers." "I am not denying," replied the crane, "that yours are far gayer than mine, but when it comes to flying, I can soar into the clouds, whereas you are confined to the earth like any dunghill cock." Apparently that's the end of it.
So don't flaunt? Don't peacock around?
Listen. Admit when people are pretty, but know that, pretty has its place.
Mm-hmm. Like, or you might be pretty, but not get you nowhere.
Oh, this picture goes with the cat and the birds. So we're going to read the cat and the birds. A cat heard that the birds in an aviary were ailing. So he got himself up as a doctor, and, taking with him a set of the instruments proper to his profession, presented himself at the door and inquired after the health of the birds. "We shall do very well," they replied without letting him in, "when we've seen the last of you." A villain may disguise himself, but he will not deceive the wise. Apparently the birds could tell it was a cat.
There says you're right. Peacocks can fly. Where's that from? That sounds so familiar.
Let's see.
You gonna do another one?
Yeah, I'll do one more. What do people want? The Spendthrift and the Swallow, the Old Woman and the Doctor, the Moon and her Mother, Mercury and the Woodman, the Ass, the Fox, and the Lion. That's...
The Woman and the Doctor?
The Old Woman and the Doctor?
Oh, the Old Woman and the Doctor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that one's on page 13. An old woman became almost totally blind from a disease of the eyes, and after consulting a doctor, made an arrangement with him in the presence of witnesses that she should pay him a high fee if he cured her, while if he failed, he was to receive nothing. The doctor accordingly prescribed a course of treatment, and every time he paid her a visit, he took away with him some article out of the house, until at last, when he visited her for the last time, and the cure was complete, there was nothing left. When the old woman saw that the house was empty, she refused to pay him his fee, and, after repeated refusals on her part, he sued her before the magistrates for payment of her debt. On being brought into the court, she was ready with her defense. The claimant, she said, has stated the facts about our agreement correctly. I undertook to pay him a fee if he cured me, and he, on his part, promised to charge nothing if he failed. Now he says I am cured, but I say that I am blinder than ever, and I can prove what I say. When my eyes were bad, I could at any rate see well enough to be aware that my house contained a certain amount of furniture and other things. But now, when, according to him, I am cured, I am entirely unable to see anything there at all.
So it's a certain point of view, is what I'm hearing.
She managed to get the loophole
Mm-hmm.
on the agreement.
Yeah.
How can you say I'm cured? I can't see anything in my house.
In healthcare? Oh, my brain.
Yeah. The moon and the mother is very short, so I'm going to do that one too. The moon and her mother. The moon once begged her mother to make her a gown. How can I? Replied she. There's no fitting your figure. At one time you're a new moon, at another time you're a full moon, and betwixt whiles you're neither one nor the other. That's it. That's the whole story.
I'm wearing this one on purpose because it's from Final Fantasy, and we're reading fantasy fairy tale stuff, so thought it fit. Well, what's the moral of that one? I don't
think there is one.
Okay. Full moon sometimes. New moon.
Women are fickle and there's no making a dress for them.
Oh, wait. A woman's cycle syncs up with the moon. So yeah, that's probably exactly what I'm talking about.
There's no pleasing you. You're always changing. Like I said, a lot of these are really short, really weird.
That's okay. I mean, the last one I read was weird.
A whole book of them.
All right, this one's only 3 pages. Not
okay.
Really. Actually, it's more 2 pages, just the way it's laid out. There is pictures. I haven't been showing you guys.
No, your camera likes to follow your face. It wouldn't even let us see the cover of your book.
I know. I could have stopped it. I can stop it. You guys want to see the cover?
Ooh, that is very nice.
In the back of it.
Dang. That was a gorgeous copy.
Yeah. Come on. Come back. There we go.
If it doesn't come back, you can show us pictures.
I could have done that. I could always take pictures and put them in the Discord later.
Ooh, you could.
I might do that. Don't buy clothes in the middle of a diet or something.
That's gotta be much better, like...
Alright. This is story number 5 out of the book. The Wolf and the 7 Little Kids.
That's gonna go well, right? It's gonna go well? It's gonna go well, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Just like all the other ones have gone well so far. There once was, on a time, an old goat who had 7 little kids and loved... Oh, those type of kids. Okay. Who had 7 little kids and loved them with all the love of a mother for her children. One day she wanted to go into the forest and fetch some food. So she called all 7 of her and said, "Dear children, I have to go into the forest, but on your guard against the wolf. If he comes in, he will devour you all, skin, hair, and all. The wretch often disguises himself, but you will know him at once by his rough voice and his black feet." Do I have to do the voice? The kids said, "Dear mother, we will take good care of ourselves." No, I won't do that. "You may go away without any anxiety." Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure anxiety stays with me the whole time. Anyway. Then the old one bleated and went on her way with an easy mind. It was not long before someone knocked at the house door and cried, "Open the door, dear children. Your mother is here and has brought something back with her for each of you." But the little kids knew that it was the wolf by the rough voice. "We will not open the door," cried they. "Thou art not our mother. She has a soft, pleasant voice, but thy voice is rough. Thou art the wolf." Then the wolf went away to a shopkeeper and bought himself a great lump of chalk, ate this, and made his voice soft with it. Don't do that, everybody.
Modern medicine says this is not the cure you're looking for.
No. Then he came back, knocked at the door of the house, and cried, "Open the door, dear children. Your mother is here and has brought something back with her for each of you." But the wolf had laid his black paws against the window, and the children saw them and cried, "We will not open the door. Our mother has not black feet like thee. Thou art the wolf." Then the wolf ran to a baker and said, "I have hurt my feet. Rub some dough over them for me." And when the baker had rubbed his feet over, he ran to the miller and said, "Strew some white meal over my feet for me." The miller thought to himself, "The wolf wants to deceive someone," and refused. But the wolf said, "If thou wilt not do it, I will devour thee." Then the miller was afraid and made his paws white for him. Truly, men are like that. Okay. So now the wretch went...
Men with your feet things.
Yeah, I don't know. So now the wretch went to the 3rd time of the house door, knocked at it, and said, "Open the door for me, children. Your dear little mother has come home and has brought every one of you something back from the forest with her." The little kids cried, "First show us thy paws, that we may know that thou art our dear little mother." Then he put his paws in through the window, and when the kids saw that they were white, they believed that all he said was true, and opened the door. But who should come in but the wolf? They were terrified and wanted to hide themselves. One sprang under the table, the second into the bed, the third into the stove, the fourth into the kitchen, the fifth into the cupboard, the sixth under the washing bowl, and under the washing bowl. Okay. And the seventh into the clock case. But the wolf found them all, and used no great ceremony. One after the other, he swallowed them down his throat. The youngest in the clock case was the only one he did not find. When the wolf had satisfied his appetite, he took himself off, laid himself down under a tree in the green meadow outside, and began to sleep. Soon afterwards, the old goat came home again from the forest. Ah, what a sight she saw there! The house door stood wide open. The table, chairs, and benches were thrown down. The washing bowl lay broken to pieces, and the quilts and pillows were pulled off the bed. She sought her children, but they were nowhere to be found. She called them one after another by name, but no one answered. At last, when she came to the youngest, a soft voice cried, "Dear mother, I am in the clock case." She took the kid out, and it told her that the wolf had come in and eaten all the others. Then you may imagine how she wept over her poor children. At length, in her grief, she went out, and the youngest kid ran with her. When they came to the meadow, there lay the wolf by the tree and snored so loud that the branches shook. She looked him over. No, that's not what that says. She looked at him on every side and saw that something was moving and struggling in his gorged body. Ah, heavens, she said. Is it possible that my poor children, who he has swallowed down for his supper, can still be alive? Then the kid had to run home and fetch scissors and a needle and thread, and the goat cut open the monster's stomach, and hardly had she made one cut, then one little kid thrust its head out, and when she had cut farther, all 6 sprang out, one after another, and were all still alive, and have suffered no injury. However, for in his greediness the monster had swallowed them down whole. What rejoicing there was! Then they embraced their dear mother and jumped like a tailor at his wedding. The mother, however, said, "Now go and look for some big stones, and we will fill the wicked beast's stomach with them while he is still asleep." Then the 7 kids dragged the stones thither with all speed, and put as many of them into his stomach as they could get in. And the mother sewed him up again in the greatest haste, so that he was not aware of anything and never once stirred. When the wolf at length had his sleep out, he got on his legs, and as the stones in his stomach made him very thirsty, he wanted to go to a well to drink. But when he began to walk and to move about, the stones in his stomach knocked against each other and rattled. Then cried he, "What rumbles and tumbles against my poor bones? I thought 'twas 6 kids, but it's not but big stones." And when he got to the well and stooped over the water and was just about to drink, the heavy stones made him fall in, and there was no help, but he had to drown miserably. When the 7 kids saw that, they came running to the spot and cried aloud, "The wolf is dead, the wolf is dead," and danced for joy round about the well with their mother. Actually, it came out pretty well, didn't it? However, how the heck did that wolf not wake up from his stomach being cut open? That I don't know.
The scissors had anesthesia on them accidentally.
I
He was
guess.
sleeping very soundly because he was full.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
I heard.
No.
I've heard that one pretty similar too. I forgot about it though. It was so long ago, and I know it's not the 3 Little Pigs, or Billy Goes Gruff. It's a little different, but yeah, I did hear this one. It's not. Well, apparently it is back then. They had different stuff. Hey, Mint. Oh, you too. It's been a while, especially Hope. Yeah, she's trying to get back into streaming, so here she is.
Damn.
Mint, since you're just getting in, we're reading fairy tales. I'm reading from the complete Grimm's fairy tales, and Butterfly is reading from Aesop's tales.
Aesop's Fables.
Fables, sorry.
Yeah. My bookmark keeps falling out, so I keep losing my table of contents.
Your fable of contents?
Yes. All right. So we have The Crow and the Pitcher, The Boys and the Frogs. I read The North Wind and the Sun. The Mistress and Her Servants. The Goods and the Ills. Let's read The Goods and the Ills. If anybody else heard one they want to hear, shout it out in chat. Where are we after? Goods and Ills, page 21. Here we go. Oh, here we have to put my little... No, put that there. Okay. The goods and the ills. There was a time in the youth of the world when goods and ills entered equally into the concerns of men, so that the goods did not prevail to make them altogether blessed, nor the ills to make them wholly miserable. But owing to the foolishness of mankind, the ills multiplied greatly in number and increased in strength until it seemed as though they would deprive the goods of all share in human affairs and banish them from the earth. The latter, therefore, betook themselves to heaven and complained to Jupiter of the treatment they had received, at the same time praying him to grant them protection from the ills and to advise them concerning the manner of their intercourse with men. Jupiter granted their request for protection and decreed that for the future they should not go among men openly in a body, and so be liable to attack from the hostile ills, but singularly and unobserved, and at infrequent and unexpected intervals. Hence it is that the earth is full of ills, for they come and go as they please and are never far away, while the goods, alas, come only one by one, and have to travel all the way from heaven, so that they are very seldom seen.
Does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then we have... Did anybody shout? No, I didn't hear shouting out.
Nope, not yet.
Hares and the frogs. Hares like rabbits, not of your head.
I don't have any hairs in my head.
The fox and the stork. The wolf in sheep's clothing.
That one.
Okay, 24.
Let's see how close that is to the one I just read.
Oh, yeah, you did just do one with a wolf all dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
A wolf resolved to disguise himself in order that he might prey upon a flock of sheep without fear of detection. So he clothed himself in a sheepskin and slipped among the sheep when they were out at pasture. He completely deceived the shepherd, and when the flock was penned in for the night, he was shut in with the rest. But that very night, as it happened, the shepherd, requiring a supply of mutton for the table, laid his hands on the wolf in mistake for a sheep and killed him with his knife on the spot.
So don't pretend you're something that you're not. Is what I'm getting out of it. You're
unless
bound to
you're
get
prepared
caught.
for the consequences for being that.
Yeah.
Wow. Not how I remember that one going.
No. I guess I've only heard the first half.
Yeah.
Because that's all anybody really, like, weighs
Yeah,
anything
it worked.
to.
He snuck in. The sheep didn't notice. The shepherd didn't notice.
Yeah. Got killed for it.
The stag in the ox stall. That's gotta be weird.
Bring it on.
A stag, chased from his lair by the hounds, took refuge in a farmyard, and entering a stable where a number of oxen were stalled, thrust himself under a pile of hay in a vacant stall, where he lay concealed, all but the tips of his horns. Presently, one of the oxen said to him, "What has induced you to come in here? Aren't you aware of the risk you are running of being captured by the herdsman?" To which he replied, "Pray let me stay for the present. When night comes, I shall easily escape under the cover of dark." In the course of the afternoon, more than one of the farmhands came in to attend the wants of the cattle, but not one of them noticed the presence of the stag, who accordingly began to congratulate himself on his escape, and to express his gratitude to the oxen. "We wish you well," said the one who had spoken before, "but you are not quite out of danger yet. If the master comes, you will certainly be found out, for nothing ever escapes his keen eyes." Presently, sure enough, in he came, and made a great to-do about the way the oxen were kept. "The beasts are starving," he cried. "Here, give them more hay, and put plenty of litter under them." As he spoke, he seized an armful himself from the pile where the stag lay concealed, and at once detected him. Calling his men, he seized him at once and killed him for the table. And they just end.
Well, yep.
What's the moral there, chat? Help me.
Somebody's got to have it, right? Mint, you're quite intelligent. Please let us know. I got no clue.
Yeah, I mean, the oxen did warn him that, you know. Listen,
yes.
buddy, you think you're safe here, but there's dangers. There's dangers in safety. That's not a good moral. I don't subscribe to that one.
I don't know. Oh.
That's all I got though. Let's see. Should I do one more?
This one's 5 and a little bit pages.
Okay.
If you want me to go, I don't mind. A lot of Aesop's morals are a bit questionable, I think. If there even is morals. Some of them, yeah. There was quite a few that you read had morals.
Yeah,
But,
there were several that were just explicit about it.
yeah, you could definitely tell. But that one, not a clue.
I'm gonna do one more.
Okay.
And then that way you get a nice rest for your voice.
Sure.
Between long stories. The Bee and Jupiter. Because that sounded like it was gonna be a good one.
Yep.
A queen bee from Hematus flew up to Olympus with some fresh honey from the hive as a present to Jupiter, who was so pleased with the gift that he promised to give her anything she liked to ask for. She said she would be very grateful if he would give stings to the bees to kill people who robbed them of their honey. Jupiter was greatly displeased with this request, for he loved mankind, but he had given his word, so he said that stings they should have. The stings he gave them, however, were of such a kind that whenever a bee stings a man, the sting is left in the wound, and the bee dies. Here we go. We have a moral. Here it comes.
Okay.
Evil wishes, like fowls, come home to roost. The end. Worst, be careful what you wish for, story ever.
Yes. Damn, moral. Alright. My turn, I guess.
Yep.
I said it's 5 pages and just a little bit. This one is called Faithful John.
Okay.
So,
We just had, Good Henry a bit ago, so that should be good.
yeah, that was Faithful Henry, wasn't it? Same thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
We got Faithful John this time. Alright. There was once on a time an old king who was ill and thought to himself, I am lying on what must be my deathbed. Then he said, tell Faithful John to come to me. Faithful John was his favorite servant and was so called because he had for his whole life long been so true to him. When therefore he came beside the bed, the king said to him, Most faithful John, I feel my end approaching and have no anxiety except about my son. He is still of tender age and cannot always know how to guide himself. If thou dost not promise me to teach him everything that he ought to know and to be his foster father, I cannot close my eyes in peace. Then answered Faithful John, I will not forsake him, and I will serve him with fidelity, even if it should cost me my life. On this the old king said, Now I die in comfort and peace. Then he added, After my death thou shalt show him the whole castle, all the chambers, halls, and vaults, and all the treasures which lie therein. But the last chamber in the long gallery, in which is the picture of the princess of the golden dwelling, shalt thou not show. If he sees that picture, he will fall violently in love with her, and will drop down in a swoon, and go through great danger for her sake. Therefore thou must preserve him from that. And when Faithful John had once more given his promise to the old king about this, the king said no more, but laid his head on his pillow and died. When the old king had been carried to his grave, Faithful John told the young king all that he had promised his father on his deathbed, and said, This will I assuredly perform, and will be faithful to thee as I have been faithful to him, even if it should cost me my life. When the morning was over, Faithful John said to him, It is now time that thou shouldest see thine inheritance. I will show thee thy father's palace. Then he took him about everywhere, up and down, and let him see all the riches and the magnificent apartments. Only there was one room which he did not open, that in which hung the dangerous picture. The picture was, however, so placed that when the door was opened, you looked straight on it, and it was so admirably painted that it seemed to breathe and live, and there was nothing more charming or more beautiful in the whole world. The young king, however, plainly remarked that faithful John always walked past this one door, and said, "Why dost thou never open this one for me?" "There is something within it," he replied, "which would terrify thee." But the king answered, "I have seen all the palace, and I will know what is in this room also." And he went and tried to break open the door by force. Then faithful John held him back and said, "I promised thy father before his death that thou shouldest not see that which is in this chamber. It might bring the greatest misfortune of thee and on me." "Ah, no," replied the young king. "If I do not go in, it will be my certain destruction. I should have no rest day or night until I had seen it with my own eyes. I shall not leave this place now until thou hast unlocked the door." Then faithful John saw that there was no help for it now, and with a heavy heart and many sighs sought out the key from the great bunch. When he had opened the door, he went in first, and thought by standing before him he could hide the portrait so that the king should not see it in front of him. But what availed that? The king stood on tiptoe and saw it over his shoulder. And when he saw the portrait of the maiden, which was so magnificent, and shone with gold and precious stones, he fell fainting on the ground. Faithful John took him up, carried him to his bed, and sorrowfully thought, "This misfortune has befallen us, Lord God. What will be the end of it?" Then he strengthened him with wine until he came to himself again. The first words the king said were, "Ah, the beautiful portrait! Whose is it?" "That is the princess of the golden dwelling," answered faithful John. Then the king continued, "My love for her is so great that if all the leaves on all the trees were tongues, they could not declare it. I will give my life to win her. Thou art my most faithful John. Thou must help me." I gotta interrupt for a minute. You don't know how old this portrait is, buddy. Anyway, the faithful servant considered within himself for a long time how to set about the matter, for it was difficult even to obtain a sight of the king's daughter. At length he thought of a way, and said to the king, "Everything which she has about her is of gold: tables, chairs, dishes, glasses, bowls, and household furniture. Among thy treasures are 5 tons of gold. Let one of the goldsmiths in the kingdom work these up into all manner of vessels and utensils, into all kinds of birds, wild beasts, and strange animals, such as may please her, and we will go there with them and try our luck." The king ordered all the goldsmiths to be brought to him, and they had a work night and day until at last the most splendid things were prepared. When everything was stowed on board a ship, faithful John put on the dress of a merchant, and the king was forced to do the same in order to make himself quite unrecognizable. Then they sailed across the sea, and sailed on until they came to the town wherein dwelt the princess of the golden dwelling. Faithful John bade the king stay behind on the ship and wait for him. "Perhaps I shall bring the princess with me," he said. "Therefore see that everything is in order. Have the golden vessels set out and the whole ship decorated." Then he gathered together in his apron all kinds of gold things, went on shore, and walked straight to the royal palace. When he entered the courtyard of the palace, the beautiful girl was standing there by the well with 2 golden buckets in her hand, drawing water with them. And when she was just turning around to carry away the sparkling water, she saw the stranger and asked who he was. So he answered, "I am a merchant," and opened his apron and let her look in. Then she cried, "Oh, what beautiful gold things!" and put her pails down and looked at the golden wares, one after the other. Then said the girl, "The princess must see these. She has such great pleasure in gold things that she will buy all you have." She took him by the hand and led him upstairs, for she was the waiting maid. When the king's daughter saw the wares, she was quite delighted and said, "They are so beautifully worked that I will buy them all of thee." But faithful John said, "I am only the servant of a rich merchant." things I have here are not to be compared to those my master has in his ship. They are the most beautiful and valuable things they have ever been made in gold. She wanted to have everything brought to her there, but he said, there are so many of them that it would take a great many days to do that, and so many rooms would be required to exhibit them, that your house is not big enough. Then her curiosity and longing were still more excited, until the last she said, conduct me to the ship. I will go there myself and behold the treasure of thy master. On this, faithful John was quite delighted and led her to the ship, and when the king saw her, he perceived that her beauty was even greater than the picture had represented it to be, and thought no other than that his heart would burst in twain. Then she got into the ship, and the king led her within. Faithful John, however, remained behind with the pilot and ordered the ship to be pushed off, saying, set all sail till it fly like a bird in air. Within, however, the king showed her the golden vessels, every one of them, also the wild beasts and the strange animals. Many hours went by whilst she was seeing everything, and in her delight she did not observe that the ship was sailing away. After she had looked at the last, she thanked the merchant and wanted to go home, but when she came to the side of the ship, she saw that it was on the deep sea, far from land, and hurrying onward with all sails set. Ah, cried she in her alarm, I am betrayed. I am carried away and have fallen into the power of a merchant. I would die rather. The king, however, seized her hand and said, I am not a merchant. I am a king, and of no meaner origin than thou art. And if I have carried thee away with subtlety, that has come to pass because of my exceeding great love for thee. The first time that I looked on thy portrait, I fell fainting to the ground. When the princess of the golden dwelling heard that, she was comforted, and her heart was inclined unto him, so that she willingly consented to be his wife. Only it was that easy. It happened, however. Well, without the kidnapping part. Anyway.
Right.
It happened, however, while they were sailing onwards over the deep sea, that faithful John, who was sitting on the fore part of the vessel, making music, saw 3 ravens in the air, which came flying towards them. On this, he stopped playing and listened to what they were saying to each other, for that he well understood. One cried, oh, there he is, carrying home the princess of the golden dwelling. Yes, replied the second, but he has not got her yet, said the third. But he has got her. She is sitting beside him in the ship. Then the first began again and cried, what good will that do him? When they reach land, a chestnut horse will leap forward to meet him, and the prince will want to mount it. But if he does that, it will run away with him and rise up into the air with him, and he will never see his maiden more. Spake the second, but is there no escape? Oh yes, if anyone else gets on it swiftly, and takes out the pistol which must be in its holster, and shoots the horse dead with it, the young king is saved. But who knows that? And whosoever does know it, and tells it to him, will be turned to stone from the toe to the knee. Then said the second, I know more than that. Even if the horse be killed, the young king will still not keep his bride. When they go into the castle together, a wrought bridal garment will be lying there in a dish and looking as if it were woven of gold and silver. It is, however, nothing but sulfur and pitch, and if he put it on, it will burn him to the very bone and marrow, said the third. Is there no escape at all? Oh yes, replied the second. If anyone with gloves on seizes the garment and throws it into the fire and burns it, the young king will be saved. But what avails that? Whoever knows it and tells it to him, half his body will become stone from the knee to the heart. Then said the third, I know still more. Even if the bridal garment be burnt, the young king will still not have his bride. After the wedding, when the dancing begins and the young queen is dancing, she will suddenly turn pale and fall down as if dead. And if someone does not lift her up and draw 3 drops of blood from her right breast and spit them out again, she will die. What? But if
Spider
anyone,
bite.
I guess. But if anyone, but if anyone who knows that were declared, he would become stone from the crown of his head to the sole of his foot. When the ravens had spoken of this together, they flew onwards, and faithful John had well understood everything. But from that time forth, he became quite quiet and sad. For if he concealed what he had heard from his master, the latter would be unfortunate, and if he discovered it to him, he himself must sacrifice his life. At length, however, he said to himself, I will save my master, even to bring destruction on myself. When therefore they came to shore, all happened as had been foretold by the ravens, and the magnificent chestnut horse sprang forward. Good, said the king, he shall carry me to my palace, and was about to mount it when faithful John got before him, jumped quickly on it, drew the pistol out of the holster, and shot the horse. Then the other attendants of the king, who after all were not very fond of faithful John, cried, How shameful to kill the beautiful animal that was to have carried the king to his palace. But the king said, Hold your peace and leave him alone. He is my most faithful John, who knows what may be the good of that. They went into the palace, and in the hall there stood a dish, and therein lay the bridal garment, looking no otherwise than as if it were made of gold and silver. The young king went towards it, and was about to take hold of it, but faithful John pushed him away, seized it with gloves on, carried it quickly to the fire, and burned it. The other attendants again began to murmur, and said, Behold, now he is even burning the king's bridal garment. But the young king said, Who knows what good he may have done? Leave him alone. He is my most faithful John. And now the wedding was solemnized. The dance began, and the bride also took part in it. Then faithful John was watchful and looked into her face, and suddenly she turned pale and fell to the ground as if she were dead. On this he ran hastily to her, lifting her up and bore her into a chamber. Then he laid her down and knelt and sucked the 3 drops of blood from her right breast and spat them out. Immediately she breathed again and recovered herself. But the young king had seen this, and being ignorant why faithful John had done it, was angry and cried, Throw him into the dungeon. Next morning faithful John was condemned and led to the gallows, and when he stood on high and was about to be executed, he said, Everyone who has to die is permitted before his end to make one last speech. May I too claim the right? Yes, answered the king, it shall be granted unto thee. Then said faithful John, I am unjustly condemned, and have always been true to thee, and related how he had hearkened to the conversation of the ravens when on the sea, and how he had been obliged to do all these things in order to save his master. Then cried the king, Oh, my most faithful John, pardon, pardon, bring him down. But as faithful John spoke the last word, he had fallen down lifeless and became a stone. Thereupon the king and the queen suffered great anguish, and the king said, Ah, how ill I have requited great fidelity, and ordered the stone figure to be taken up and placed in his bedroom beside his bed. And as often as he looked on it, he wept and said, If I could bring thee to life again, my most faithful John. Some time passed, and the queen bore twins, 2 sons who grew fast and were her delight. Once, when the queen was at church, and the 2 children were sitting playing beside their father, the latter, full of grief again, looked at the stone figure, sighed, and said, Ah, if I could but bring thee to life again, my most faithful John. Then the stone began to speak, and said, Thou canst bring me to life again, if thou wilt use for that purpose what is dearest to thee. Then cried the king, I will give everything I have in the world for thee. The stone continued, If thou wilt cut off the heads of thy 2 children with thine own hands, and sprinkle me with their blood, I shall be restored to life. That turned so fast The king was terrified when he heard that he himself must kill his dearest children, but he thought of faithful John's great fidelity and how he had died for him, drew his sword, and with his own hand cut off the children's heads. And when he had smeared the stone with their blood, life returned to it, and faithful John stood once more, safe and healthy before him. He said to the king, "Thy truly shall not go unrewarded," and took the heads of the children, put them on again, and rubbed the wounds with their blood, on which they became whole again immediately, and jumped about and went on playing as if nothing had happened. Then the king was full of joy, and when he saw the queen coming, he hid faithful John and the 2 children in a great cupboard. Aye. When she entered, he said to her, "Hast thou been praying in the church?" "Yes," answered she, "but I have constantly been thinking of faithful John and what misfortune had befallen him through us." Then said he, "Dear wife, we can give him his life again, but it will cost us our 2 little sons, whom we must sacrifice." The queen turned pale, and her heart was full of terror, but she said, "We owe it to him for his great fidelity." Then the king was rejoiced that she thought as he had thought, and went and opened the cupboard, and brought forth faithful John and the children, and said, "God be praised, he is delivered, and we have our little sons again also," and told her how everything had occurred. Then they dwelt together in much happiness until their death.
Wow. Double twist ending.
Right? Like, what?
I was like, okay, he turned to stone. It's not over. He's still talking. He's still...
Oh
okay,
my gosh.
but where's this gonna go? Oh man. Twists and turns.
And horrifying at the same time.
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh,
Casually
Hannah.
he can understand the speech of crows. Like just
Oh yeah. No problem. Oh.
But nobody else on the ship can, so it's like a special thing just for faithful John.
Yep.
What a wild ride.
That was insane.
All right, let's see. Dolphins, whales, and the sprat. What's a sprat?
That's what I was about to ask.
The dolphins, the whales, and the sprat. The dolphins quarreled with the whales, and before very long they began fighting with one another. The battle was very fierce, and had lasted some time without any sign of coming to an end, when a sprat thought that perhaps he could stop it, so he stepped in and tried to persuade them to give up fighting and make friends. But one of the dolphins said to him contemptuously, "We would rather go on fighting till we're all killed than be reconciled by a sprat like you." Did not answer the question.
Wait, that was it?
That's it. That's the whole thing.
Okay, I have to admit that I was kind of like thinking while you were reading that, because in Bob's Burgers, somebody's last name is Sprat. So I'm like, is that what they mean? But the story didn't answer my question. Maybe it's a brat with a SP?
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
P-R-A-T. Oh no! A sprat. A small, oily, herring-like forage fish.
What?
Often canned and sold as bristling or bristling sardines.
Wow. That makes Bob's Burgers even funnier now, because this character is like the owner of a big candy corporation.
Mm-hmm. As a fish, description: a small silver fish related to herrings and sardines, with oily flesh that is rich in proteins and vitamins.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yep. That's the story.
okay.
That's a bully story if I ever heard one.
Yeah. We'd rather go on fighting than be reconciled by you. Wow. Okay, what do we got? The fox and the monkey, the ass and the lapdog, the fir tree and the bramble, the frog's complaint against the sun.
Okay.
Let's do 29. The fir tree and the bramble. A fir tree. Oh, it's got a picture that's protected under a sleeve. Is. Here we go. That's the picture. A fir tree was boasting to a bramble and said, somewhat contemptuously, "You poor creature, you who are of no use whatever. Now look at me. I am useful for all sorts of things, particularly when men build houses. They can't do without me then." But the bramble replied, "Ah, that's all very well, but you wait till they come with axes and saws to cut you down, and then you'll wish you were a bramble and not a fir." It has a moral. You ready? Here goes. Better poverty without a care than wealth with its many obligations.
Okay.
Guys, I'm afraid to tell you, I am a fir tree. I'm not a bramble. I prefer to be useful, and I like to boast about my usefulness.
I don't think. I think I'm the bramble. I don't.
You're a bramble?
I think.
But you're useful. No, you're useful.
Yeah, but I don't talk about it.
No, that's true. But you know,
Yeah.
if somebody was boasting to you, you wouldn't be like, you'll wish you were me later.
No, I'm not like that part.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah, Faithful John was quite a ride.
that was such a wild ride.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay. What else do we have here?
The next one I got is only 2 pages. If you want me to go,
Okay.
up to you.
I wanted to do the frog's complaint against the sun.
Yes.
Did I read that one?
No.
29. Is it
Oops.
the same page? Oh, it's the next page over. I just had to turn the page. Here it is. So glad I went all the way back to the table of contents to find that out. Once upon a time, the sun was about to take himself a wife. The frogs, in terror, all raised their voices to the skies, and Jupiter, disturbed by the noise, asked them what they were croaking about. They replied, "The sun is bad enough even while he is single, drying up our marshes with his heat as he does. But what will become of us if he marries and begets other sons?" The end.
Okay.
The end.
Wow. So they meant the literal sun
Yes.
getting married
Mm-hmm.
and would be producing more sons.
More sons with a U, not an O. Doesn't matter the gender of the other sons.
No. And that was the frogs complaining?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the frog's complaining.
Well, they would dry out, that's for sure.
Yes. Yes, definitely. One son is bad enough drying up our marshes.
Yep.
What if there were 2 of them? And if there's 2, why would they stop at 2?
Oh, that is so
There
weird.
will always be. Don't let them get 2 together. There'll be more.
That is so weird.
Wild rides.
Short wild rides.
They end so abruptly. I think they would make better writing prompts. Like, how would you finish this story? Because
Maybe that's what they are. They're just
they
unfinished
end
stories.
so abrupt. They're intended to be like full thoughts.
Mm.
At the time they were written and told, that was the full thought.
Okay.
Like,
All right, we ready for the next one then?
yeah.
This one is called The Wonderful Musician. Only 2 pages. There was once a wonderful musician who went quite along. Sorry, let me start that again. There was once a wonderful musician who went quite alone through a forest and thought of all manner of things, and when nothing was left for him to think about, he said to himself, "Time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither a good companion for myself." Then he took his fiddle from his back and played so that it echoed through the trees. It was not long before a wolf came trotting through the thicket towards him. "Ah, here is a wolf coming. I have no desire for him," said the musician. But the wolf came near and said to him, "Ah, dear musician, how beautifully thou dost play. I should like to learn that too." "It is soon learnt," the musician replied. "Thou hast only to do all that I bid thee." "O musician," said the wolf, "I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master." The musician bade him follow, and when they had gone part of the way together, they came to an old oak tree, which was hollow inside and cleft in the middle. "Look," said the musician, "if thou wilt learn to fiddle, put thy 4 paws into this crevice." The wolf obeyed, but the musician quickly picked up a stone, and with one blow wedged his 2 paws so fast that he was forced to stay there like a prisoner. "Stay there until I come back again," said the musician, and went his way. After a while he again said to himself, "Time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither another companion," and took his fiddle again, played in the forest. It was not long before a fox came creeping through the trees towards him. "Ah, there's a fox coming," said the musician. "I have no desire for him." The fox came up to him and said, "Oh, dear musician, how beautifully thou dost play. I should like to learn that too." "That is soon learnt," said the musician. "Thou hast only to do everything that I bid thee." "O musician," then said the fox, "I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master." "Follow me," said the musician, and when they had walked to part of the way, they came to a footpath with high bushes on both sides of it. There the musician stood still, and from one side bent a young hazel bush down to the ground, and put his foot on the top of it. And he bent down a young tree from the other side as well, and said, "Now, little fox, as thou wilt learn something, give me thy left front paw." The fox obeyed, and the musician fastened his paw to the left bough. "The little fox," said he, "now reach me thy right paw." And he tied it to the right bough. When he had examined whether they were firm enough, he let go, and the bushes sprang up again and jerked up the little fox so that it hung struggling in the air. "This is so cruel." "Wait there till I come back again," said the musician, and went his way. Again he said to himself, "Time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither another companion." So he took his fiddle, and the sound echoed through the forest. Then a little hare came springing towards him. "Why, a hare is coming," said the musician. "I do not want him." "Ah, dear musician," said the hare, "how beautifully thou dost fiddle. I too should like to learn that." "That is soon learned," said the musician. "Thou hast only to do everything that I bid thee." "O musician," replied the little hare, "I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master." They went a part of the way together until they came to an open space in the forest, where stood an aspen tree. The musician tied a long string around the little hare's neck, and the other end which he fastened to the tree. "Now briskly, little hare, run 20 times around the tree," cried the musician, and the little hare obeyed, and when he had run around 20 times, it had twisted the string 20 times around the trunk of the tree, and the little hare was caught, and let it pull and tug as it liked. It only made the string cut into his tender neck. Gosh. "Wait there till I come back," said the musician, and went onwards. The wolf, in the meantime, had pushed and pulled and bitten at the stone, and had worked so long that he had set his feet at liberty, and had drawn them once more out of the cleft. Full of anger and rage, he hurried after the musician, wanted to tear him to pieces. When the fox saw him running, he began to lament, and cried with all of his might, "Brother wolf, come to my help! The musician has betrayed me." The wolf drew down the little tree, bit the cord in two, and freed the fox, who went with him to take revenge on the musician. They found the tied-up hare, whom likewise they delivered, and they also sought the enemy together. Wow. The musician had once more played his fiddle as he went on his way, and this time he had been more fortunate. The sound reached the ears of a poor woodcutter, who instantly, whether he would or no, gave up his work and came with his hatchet under his arm to listen to the music. "At last comes the right companion," said the musician, "for I was seeking a human being and no wild beast." And he began and played so beautifully and delightfully that the poor man stood there as if bewitched, and his heart leaped with gladness. And as he thus stood, the wolf, the fox, and the hare came up, and he saw well that they had some evil design. So he raised his glittering axe and placed himself before the musician, as if to say, "Whoso wishes to touch him, let him beware that he will have to deal with me." Then the beasts were terrified and ran back into the forest. The musician, however, played once more to the man out of gratitude, and then went onwards. That's it.
Yours also just ends.
That one just ended weirdly.
Just ends.
Yep.
Wow. The only good thing, and the only moral to take from that is musicians are mean. Because it explicitly said in that story that the woodcutter, whether he wanted to or not, had to stop his work and listen. So he just messed up everybody's day and got off scot-free.
Yep. That's not a moral.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie is what it is.
A lie, and sometimes people get away with it, is what I'm getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, he did lie to them. That's right.
Yeah.
That he'd be back and he would teach them, and that's not actually true whatsoever.
Yeah, instead of saying, "Oh, you weren't the companion for me," or stopping playing before they, finish coming up to him, because it's clearly that's what's dragging them up there. Oh, frogs in the well. I wanted to do frogs in the well. That's supposed to be... Actually, this one is hilarious. The boy bathing.
That's the name of that one?
That's the name of this one. It's not dirty, I promise. It does have a picture. Here we go. That's the picture. The little face in the water right there.
More like he's drowning.
Yes.
Not bathing.
A boy was bathing in a river and got out of his depth and was in great danger of being drowned. A man who was passing along by a road hard by heard his cries for help and went to the riverside and began to scold him for being so careless as to get into deep water, but made no attempt to help him. "Oh, sir," cried the boy, "please help me first and scold me afterwards." The moral? Give assistance, not advice, in a crisis.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Crazy. Okay, let's see. Where it is? What was I going for?
Oh, I got coffee.
The quack frog?
The quack frog?
Yeah. Let's see what craziness Aesop has for us.
So like a
Here.
quack doctor. It's not really a
Oh,
frog.
look, it's got a picture. It's gonna be apparently yes.
Ah,
Here we have the quack
called it.
frog.
Called it.
I thought he was gonna.
He's gonna be selling snake oil.
Yeah. Once upon a time, a frog came forth from his home in the marshes and proclaimed to all the world that he was a learned physician, skilled in drugs and able to cure all diseases. Among the crowd was a fox who called out, "You, a doctor? Why, how can you set up to heal others when you cannot even cure your own lame legs and blotched and wrinkled skin?"
Oh, is that it?
Are you ready for the moral? Here it comes.
Yep.
Physician, heal thyself.
I mean, it's true. If you got somebody who's trying to say they got the cure all for everything, and you look at them, they're like, this guy's got some problems.
Have you been using it?
Yeah.
Except
Clearly, it's not gonna work.
it's a frog.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of lying to you.
This one's good. The Crow and the Pitcher. A thirsty crow found a pitcher with some water in it, but so little water that, try as she might, she could not reach it with her beak, and it seemed as though she would die of thirst within sight of the remedy. At last, she hit upon a clever plan. She began dropping pebbles into the pitcher, and with each pebble the water rose a little higher, until at last it reached the brim, and the knowing bird was able to quench her thirst. Necessity is the mother of invention. I think that's more like a thing that just happened instead of a story, because
Yeah.
I've heard of that just happening.
Ketchup started as a snake oil medicine. I did actually hear about that. Never bird.
What's it supposed to be medicine for? Like, it's tasty, but was it?
Pepsi. Pepsi
Tomatoes
was the
have
same thing.
vitamin C, so I mean, I guess it could be like it'll cure scurvy.
Yeah, well, any vegetable could do that. Really. Pepsi was the same thing. It was supposed to be a medicine, and then they just turned it into a pop.
Dr. Pepper was a hangover cure, and
Yeah.
then you switch it from tonic water to just seltzer
Or
water.
indigestion. You're right, Em. You're right. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. So funny how things are supposed to be medicine turn out to be not even close.
Right.
And just plain delicious.
The names on some of these are just... It's such a nothing name. The gnat and the bull, the bear and the travelers, the slave and the lion, the flea and the man, the oak and the reeds, the blind man and the cub, the boy and the snails, the apes and the two travelers, the ass and his burdens, the shepherd's boy and the wolf, the
Wait,
fox and the goat.
the ass and his burdens. That one sounds like a good moral story, actually.
Okay, let's go. Page 40.
Maps in the tax season. The ass and his burdens? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, an ass is a beast of burden, so that's why I'm thinking this might be an actual good moral story.
Yeah. This is the picture for the flea and the man. They're apparently going to have a conversation.
Is that like Geppetto and the cricket?
I can skip ahead to the moral. Do not waste your pity on a scamp. Do we want to read that one? See what...
Read the whole thing.
Okay. The flea and the man. A flea bit a man, and bit him again, and again, till he could stand it no longer, but made a thorough search for it, and at last succeeded in catching it. Holding it between his finger and his thumb, he said, or rather shouted, so angry was he, "Who are you? Pray, you wretched little creature, what makes you so free with my person?" The flea, terrified, whimpered in a weak little voice, "Oh, sir, pray, let me go. Don't kill me. I am such a little thing that I cannot do you much harm." But the man laughed and said, "I am going to kill you now, at once. Whatever is bad has got to be destroyed, no matter how slight the harm it does."
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mass and his burdens. Here we go.
Destroy all evil.
A peddler who owned an ass one day brought a quantity of salt and loaded up his beast with as much as he could bear. On the way home, the ass stumbled as he was crossing a stream and fell into the water. The salt got thoroughly wetted, and much of it melted and drained away, so that when he got on his legs again, the ass found his load had become much less heavy. His master, however, drove him back to town and bought more salt, which he added to what remained in the panners, and started out again. No sooner had they reached a stream than the ass lay down in it, and rose as before with a much lighter load. But his master detected the trick, and turning back once more, bought a large number of sponges, and piled them on the back of the ass. When they came to the stream, the ass again lay down, but this time, as the sponges soaked up large quantities of water, he found, when he got up on his legs, that he had a bigger burden to carry than ever. There's a moral. Are you ready? Here it comes.
I know the moral of this one. Go ahead.
You may play a good card once too often.
Right. I often say this to like students and people I work with. Like sometimes you are like working harder to get out of work than to actually just do the work. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good story. I like that one.
Yeah. We got the shepherd's boy and the wolf. The shepherd's boy was tending his flock near a village and thought it would be great fun to hoax the villagers by pretending that a wolf was attacking the sheep. So he shouted out, "Wolf! Wolf!" And when the people came running up, he laughed at them for their pains. He did this more than once, and every time the villagers found that they had been hoaxed, for there was no wolf at all. At last, a wolf really did come, and the boy cried, "Wolf! Wolf!" as loud as he could, but the people were so used to hearing him call that they took no notice of his cries for help, and so the wolf had it all his own way, and killed off sheep after sheep at his leisure. Here's the moral. You cannot believe a liar, even when he tells the truth.
Yeah. Or don't overplay your card.
The moral comes down on the side of the villagers. Yeah. You know, it's like...
Yeah. Yeah, Shabazzle, you and I already... We had this conversation last night about that with the people trying to get it to work instead of just doing it. I won't do. Yeah.
The fox and the goat. The moral of this one is look before you leap. It's got to be good, right? Okay. That's got to be. The fox and the goat. A fox fell into a well and was unable to get out again. By and by, a thirsty goat came by, and seeing the fox in the well, asked him if the water was good. "Good?" said the fox. "It's the best water I ever tasted in all my life. Come down and try it yourself." The goat thought of nothing but the prospect of quenching his thirst, and jumped in at once. When he had had enough to drink, he looked about, like the fox, for some way of getting out, but could find none. Presently the fox said, "I have an idea. You stand on your hind legs and plant your forelegs firmly against the side of the well, and then I'll climb onto your back, and from there, by stepping on your horns, I can get out. And when I'm out, I'll help you out too." The goat did as he was requested, and the fox climbed on his back, and so out of the well. And then he coolly walked away. The goat called loudly after him and reminded him of his promise to help him out, but the fox merely turned and said, "If you had as much sense in your head as you have hair in your beard, you wouldn't have got into the well without making certain that you could get out again."
Wow. Why didn't the fox do the same, or whatever that other animal was? Was it a fox?
No, it was a fox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why didn't he do the same thing? What a dummy. Rude. Rude!
Rude. Foxes are rude.
Cheapy goat, yeah. And I relate to this goat a lot. Only difference is I am the goat who gets legal representation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Alright, you ready for your break, or do you want to do another one?
It's so close. What's your next one?
The name of it, or how many pages?
How many pages?
3.5.
Okay, what's it called?
The 12 Brothers.
Oh, okay.
You know this one?
I know some stories with 12 brothers in them, and they're all very fascinating. So I'm looking forward to seeing which 12 brothers you've got there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cheaper by the brothers.
Hey, well, we'll see. Alright, here we go. The 12 Brothers. There were once on a time a king and a queen who lived happily together and had 12 children, but they were all boys. Then said the king to his wife, "If the 13th child which thou art about to bring into the world is a girl, the 12 boys shall die in order that her possessions may be great and that the kingdom may fall to her alone." He caused likewise 12 coffins to be made, which were already filled with shavings, and in each lay the little pillow for the dead. And he had them taken into a locked up room, and then he gave the queen the key of it, and bade her not to speak of this to anyone. The mother, however, now sat and lamented all day long until the youngest son, who was always with her, and whom she had named Benjamin from the Bible, said to her, "Dear mother, why art thou so sad?" "Dearest child," she answered, "I may not tell thee." But he let her have no rest until she went and unlocked the room and showed him the 12 coffins ready filled with shavings. I don't understand the shavings part.
Wood shavings to hold the dead with, or like stuffing. It's a
Okay.
cushion.
Okay.
Yeah, like wood shavings.
I guess it would be for shavings. Then she said, "My dearest Benjamin, thy father has had these coffins made for thee and for thy 11 brothers. For if I bring a little girl into the world, you are all to be killed and buried in them." That would never happen in real life. And as she wept while she was saying this, the son comforted her and said, "Weep not, dear mother. We will save ourselves and go hence." But she said, "Go forth into the forest with thy 11 brothers, and let one sit constantly on the highest tree which can be found, and keep watch, looking towards the tower here in the castle." What was that noise? Is that my computer?
I didn't hear anything.
That was weird. I don't know what happened. Seems like everything's fine, though. Okay. Sorry, where was I? Highest tree found, to keep watch, looking towards the tower here in the castle. If I give birth to a little son, I will put up a white flag, and then you may venture to come back. But if I bear a daughter, I will hoist a red flag, and then fly hence as quickly as you are able, and may the good God protect you. And every night I will rise up and pray for you in winter, that you may be able to warm yourself at a fire, in a summer that you may not faint away in the heat." After she had blessed her sons, therefore, they went forth into the forest. They each kept watch in turn, and sat on the highest oak and looked towards the tower. When 11 days had passed, and the turn came to Benjamin, he saw that a flag was being raised. It was, however, not the white, but the blood-red flag, which announced that they were all to die. When the brothers heard that, they were very angry and said, "Are we all to suffer death for the sake of a girl?" We swear that we will avenge ourselves. Wheresoever we find a girl, her red blood shall flow. Holy crap. I don't know
Please
why
tell me
they
that
hold...
this turns out to be the invention of periods.
Oh, I don't know. Basil, I don't know why that held back that message, but that's weird. Yeah, I heard the same sound. I don't know what it was. Everything seems to be fine, so... I normally don't hear those sounds while I'm streaming. M heard it. So it must have been on my stream. Something happened on my computer that I'm not aware of. Whatever.
Okay.
Okay. So they're about to go kill every girl they come across. I've been in the heads. Maybe. Okay. Thereupon they went deeper into the forest. In the midst of it, where it was the darkest, they found a little bewitched hut, which was standing empty. Then said they, Here we will dwell, and thou, Benjamin, who art the youngest and weakest, thou shalt stay at home and keep house. We others will go out and get food. Then they went into the forest and shot hares, wild deer, birds, and pigeons, and I don't know why I keep saying whosoever, and whatsoever there was to eat. This they took to Benjamin, who had to dress it for them in order that they might appease their hunger. They lived together 10 years in the little hut, and the time did not appear long to them. The little daughter which their mother, the queen, had given birth to, was now grown up. She was good of heart and fair of face, and had a golden star on her forehead. Once, when it was the great washing, she saw 12 men's shirts among the things, and asked her mother, To whom do these 12 shirts belong? For they are far too small for father. Then the queen answered with a heavy heart, Dear child, these belong to thy 12 brothers, said the maiden. Where are my 12 brothers? I have never yet heard of them, she replied. God knows where they are. They are wandering about the world. Then she took the maiden and opened the chamber for her, and showed her the 12 coffins with the shavings and pillows for their head. These coffins, she said, were destined for thy brothers, but they went away secretly before thou wert born. And she related to her how everything had happened. Then said the maiden, Dear mother, weep not. I will go and seek my brothers. Uh-oh.
Don't do that.
So she took the 12 shirts and went forth and straight into the great forest. She walked the whole day, and in the evening she came to the bewitched hut. Then she entered it and found a young boy, who asked, From whence comest thou, and whither art thou bound? And was astonished that she was so beautiful, and wore royal garments, and had a star on her forehead. And she answered, I am a king's daughter, and am seeking my 12 brothers, and I will walk as far as the sky is blue until I find them. She likewise showed them the 12 shirts which belonged to them. Then Benjamin saw that she was his sister, and said, I am Benjamin, thy youngest brother. And she began to weep for joy, and Benjamin wept also, and they kissed and embraced each other with the greatest love. But after this he said, Dear sister, there is still one difficulty. We have agreed that every maiden whom we met shall die, because we have been obliged to leave our kingdom on account of a girl. Then said she, I will willingly die, if by doing so I can deliver my 12 brothers. No, answered he, thou shalt not die. Seat thyself beneath this tub until our 11 brothers come, and then I will soon come to an agreement with them. She did so, and when it was night, the others came from hunting, and their dinner was ready. And as they were sitting at table and eating, they asked, What news is there? Said Benjamin. Don't you know anything? No, they answered. He continued, You have been in the forest, and I have stayed at home, and yet I know more than you do. I gotta turn a few pages to continue the story. Tell us then, they cried. He answered, But promise me the first maiden who meets us shall not be killed. Yes, they all cried. She shall have mercy, only do tell us. Then he said, Our sister is here. And he lifted up the tub, and the king's daughter came forth in her royal garment, with the golden star on her forehead, and she was beautiful, delicate, and fair. Then they were all rejoiced and fell on her neck, and kissed and loved her with all their hearts. Now she stayed at home with Benjamin and helped him with the work. The 11 went into the forest and caught game and deer and birds and wood pigeons, that they might have food, and the little sister and Benjamin took care to make it ready for them. She sought for the wood for cooking and herbs for vegetables, and put the pans on the fire so that the dinner was always ready when the 11 came. She likewise kept order in the little house and put beautifully white clean coverings on the little beds, and the brothers were always contented and lived in great harmony with her. Once on a time, the two at home had prepared a beautiful entertainment, and when they were all together, they sat down and ate and drank and were full of gladness. There was, however, a little garden belonging to the bewitched house, wherein stood 12 lily flowers, which are likewise called students. She wished to give her brothers pleasure and plucked the 12 flowers, and thought she would present each other with one while at dinner. But at the self same moment that she plucked the flowers, the 12 brothers were changed into 12 ravens, and flew away over the forest, and the house and garden vanished likewise. And now the poor maiden was alone in the wild forest. And when she looked around, an old woman was standing near her, who said, "My child, what hast thou done? Why didst thou not leave the 12 white flowers growing? They were thy brothers, who are now forevermore changed into ravens." The maiden said, weeping, "Is there no way of delivering them?" "No," said the woman. "There is but one in the whole world, and that is so hard that thou wilt not deliver them by it. For thou must be dumb for 7 years, and mayest not speak or laugh. And if thou speakest one single word, and only an hour of the 7 years is wanting, all is in vain, and thy brothers will be killed by the one word." Then said the maid in her heart, "I know with certainty that I shall set my brothers free," and went and sought a high tree, and seated herself in it, and span, and neither spoke nor laughed. Now it so happened that a king was hunting in the forest, who had a great greyhound, which ran to the tree on which the maiden was sitting, and sprang about it, whining and barking at her. Then the king came by and saw the beautiful king's daughter, with the golden star on her brow, and was so charmed with her beauty that he called to ask her if she would be his wife. She made no answer, but nodded a little with her head. So he climbed up the tree himself, carried her down, placed her on his horse, and bore her home. Then the wedding was solemnized with a great magnificence and rejoicing, but the bride neither spoke nor smiled. When they had lived happily together for a few years, the king's mother, who was a wicked woman, began to slander the young queen, and said to the king, "This is a common beggar girl who thou hast brought back with thee. Who knows what impious tricks she practices secretly? Even if she be dumb and not able to speak, she still might laugh for once, but those who do not laugh have bad consciences." Okay. At first the king would not believe it, but the old woman urged this so long, and accused her of so many evil things, that at last the king let himself be persuaded and sentenced her to death. And now a great fire was lighted in the courtyard in which she was to be burnt, and the king stood above at the window and looked on with fearful eyes, because he still loved her so much. And when she was bound fast to the stake, and the fire was licking at her clothes with its red tongue, the last instant of the 7 years expired. Then a whirring sound was heard in the air, and 12 ravens came flying towards the place, and sank downwards. And when they touched the earth, they were her 12 brothers, whom she had delivered. They tore the fire asunder, extinguished the flames, set their dear sister free, and kissed and embraced her. And now, as she dared open her mouth and speak, she told the king why she had been dumb and had never laughed. The king rejoiced when he heard that she was innocent, and they all lived in great unity until their death. The wicked stepmother was taken before the judge and put into a barrel filled with boiling oil and venomous snakes and died an evil death.
How did the snake survive the boiling oil?
I was wondering the same thing.
That's overkill because you've killed more things than you intended.
There was so much going on. I was like, I know these are old, so I'm just like, I don't really want to say what I was thinking.
Whatever happened to the original king and queen? Like, we just left them behind. Like, nah.
I don't know. Hey, Skylar.
She let her daughter wander in the woods, and she never got to see her again.
Shabazzle, I am Benjamin, your youngest brother. I shall karate chop you now, post haste.
Wow.
Yes, go get some cocoa. We're by a fire reading stories.
So wild.
You fried witch with a bit of snake oil, apparently.
Yeah.
Wow. These stories that I'm reading have so many twists and weird turns. Oh, the next one's very short, like page and a half. But it's called A Pack of Ragamuffins.
Oh, go. That's gotta be good.
Yeah, let me take a quick drink of water real quick and I'll
do one short one while you do that. Let's just random page it. The Eagle and the Arrow. An eagle sat perched on a lofty rock, keeping a sharp lookout for prey. A huntsman, concealed in a cleft of the mountain on watch for game, spied him there and shot an arrow at him. The shaft struck him full in the breast and pierced him through and through, and as he lay there in the agonies of death, he turned his eyes upon the arrow. "Ah, cruel fate," he cried, "that I should perish thus! But oh, fate more cruel still, that the arrow which kills me should be winged with an eagle's feathers." Almost just sad. You had a pack of ragamuffins? Is that what you said?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the pack of ragamuffins.
Yes.
I'm reading what Skylar said. His cat Sully is a ragamuffin. I don't even know what a ragamuffin is, but we're about to find out, I think. Ready?
Yeah.
The cock once said to the hen, "It is now the time when the nuts are ripe, so let us go to the hill together and for once eat our fill before the squirrel takes them all away." "Yes," replied the hen. "Come, we will have some pleasure together." Then they went away to the hill, and as it was a bright day, they stayed till evening. Now I do not know whether it was that they had eaten till they were too fat, or whether they had become proud, but they would not go home on foot, and the cock had to build a little carriage of nutshells. When it was ready, the little hen seated herself in it, and said to the cock, "Thou canst just harness thyself to it." "I like that," said the cock. "I would rather go home on foot than let myself be harnessed to it. No, that is not our bargain. I do not mind being coachman and sitting on the box, but drag it myself I will not." As they were thus disputing, a duck quacked to them, "You thieving folks, who bade you to go to my nut hill? Wait, you shall suffer for it," and ran with open beak at the cock. But the cock also was not idle, and fell boldly on the duck, and at last wounded her so with his spurs that she begged for mercy, and willingly let herself be harnessed to the carriage as a punishment. The little cock now seated himself on the box and was coachman, and thereupon they went off in a gallop with Duck, "Go as fast as thou canst." When they had driven a part of the way, they met 2 foot passengers, a pin and a needle. They cried, "Stop, stop," and said that it would soon be as dark as pitch, and then they could not go a step further. that it was so dirty on the road and asked if they could not get into the carriage for a while. They had been at the tailor's public house by the gate and had stayed too long over the beer. As they were thin people who did not take up much room, the cock let them both get in, but they had to promise him and his little hen not to step on their feet. Late in the evening, they came to an inn, and they did not like to go further by night. And as the duck also was not strong on her feet and fell from one side to the other, they went in. The host at first made many objections. His house was already full. Besides, he thought he could not be very distinguished persons, but at last, as they made pleasant speeches and told him that he should have the egg which the little hen had laid on the way, and should likewise keep the duck, which laid one every day, he at length said that they might stay the night. And now they had themselves well served and feasted and rioted. Early in the morning, when day was breaking and everyone was asleep, the cock awoke the hen, brought the egg, pecked it open, and they ate it together. But they threw the shell on the hearth. Then they went to the needle, which was still asleep, took it by the head, and struck it into the cushion of the landlord's chair, and put the pin in his towel. And at last, without more ado, they flew away over the heath. The duck, who liked to sleep in the open air and had stayed in the yard, heard them going away, made herself merry, and found a stream, down which she swam, which was a much quicker way to traveling than being harnessed to a carriage. The host did not get out of bed for 2 hours after this. He washed himself and wanted to dry himself. Then the pin went over his face and made a red streak from one ear to the other. After this, he went into the kitchen and wanted to light a pipe, but when he came to the hearth, the eggshell darted into his eyes. "This morning everything attacks my head," he said, and angrily sat down on his grandfather's chair, but he quickly started up again and cried, "Woe is me!" For the needle had pricked him still worse than the pin, and not in the head. Now he was thoroughly angry, and suspected the guests who had come so late the night before, and when he went and looked about for them, they were gone. Then he made a vow to take no more ragamuffins into his house, for they consume much, pay for nothing, and play mischievous tricks into the bargain by way of gratitude.
What a pack of ragamuffins.
I gotta remember that word. Ragamuffins.
Yeah. I can't believe you hadn't heard it before.
No.
I got called ragamuffin a lot as a kid.
I can see that.
Little ragamuffin.
My gosh. You're up.
Okay. This is my last. I gotta go after this one. So, do we want Hercules and the Wagoner, or do we want the pomegranate, the apple tree, and the bramble?
I'm gonna let somebody else pick.
Okay.
There you go. Skylar said bramble. Hercules. I don't know, Skylar. We did have some
We can do
stories
both.
about cats earlier tonight,
Me
but
too, right? Three.
not about ragamuffins though.
Oh, they're both short. Here we go. Hercules and the Wagoner. A wagoner was driving his team along a muddy lane with a full load behind them, when the wheels of his wagon sank so deep in the mire that no efforts of his horse could move them. As he stood there, looking helplessly on, and calling loudly at intervals upon Hercules for assistance, the god himself appeared and said to him, "Put your shoulder to the wheel, man, and goad your horses, and then you may call on Hercules to assist you. If you won't lift a finger to help yourself, you can't expect Hercules or anyone else to come to your aid." The moral? Heaven helps those who help themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
So then we got...
Just a second. My cousin Triscar is asking me to go see
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings tomorrow night. I'm supposed to be streaming my model car tomorrow, but I don't know. I kind
I
of
think you should
wanna.
go.
I
Yeah, you
kind of
should
want to
go.
go see it. It's the extended version of Fellowship of the Ring.
Run a poll in either chat or your Discord.
Oh,
Yeah, so you start a poll. I'm going to read the pomegranate, the apple tree, and the bramble. A pomegranate and an apple tree were disputing about the quality of their fruits, and each claimed that his own was the better of the two. High words passed between them, and a violent quarrel was imminent, when a bramble impudently poked its head out of the neighboring hedge and said, "There, that's enough, my friends. Don't let us quarrel."
just don't fight. Is that it?
That's it. Yeah, that's... Which
Wanna
would
come
you
see Lord
rather
of the Rings?
have?
Yeah.
A pomegranate or an apple?
I think you should read it again because it was so fast. I think we blinked and missed it.
Yeah. A pomegranate and an apple tree were disputing about the quality of their fruits, and each claimed that his own was the better of the two. High words passed between them, and a violent quarrel was imminent, when a bramble impudently poked his head out of the neighboring hedge and said, "There, that's enough, my friends. Don't let us quarrel."
That's kind of the exact same idea of don't compare apples and oranges. They're
It's the
different.
same story as the whale and the... Was it the whale, the orca, and the sardine? What was that one? The fish we had to look up. What was that fish we had to look up? A scalpy? A scampy?
That was
The fuck is that?
that was in one of the stories I read.
Sprat! The dolphins,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whales,
sprat,
and the
that's what it was.
sprat.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the same thing.
I think the moral is supposed to be don't butt into a quarrel that isn't yours.
Maybe that's one of them. Maybe there's two because really they're two different fruits and they taste completely different. So like
Yeah.
you can't compare the two. Don't fight with trees. Maybe
Don't
that's it.
fight with... Don't fight with... That's the moral we're taking away from today. Don't fight with trees.
Don't fight with Groot.
Yeah. Yeah, and if a pine tree's bragging at you, just let it. Don't fight with trees. That cracked me up, the pine tree and the bramble.